Lots of photos, as many photographs. Yeah, yeah. She's going to Williams. So one kid going to Williams, one kid going to Princeton, all the same year. And they're moving to the West Coast. Isabel, are you ready? Okay. Well, okay, so I'm going to do this for the first time ever. So I think we're ready. Yeah. So I'm going to call the select board meeting to order on June 5th at 6:04 p.m. So welcome, everybody. It's so nice to have a nice crowd here. We don't always have all these pleasant faces sitting here looking at us. Before we get started, there's actually one person I want to recognize who's at his first select board meeting since he was named fire chief, which is our new fire chief sitting in the table, Andrew Puntini. Chief Newell's an OHAD. He's been here. He's been a chief for a year, so we won't. Okay, so I want to recognize tonight our town scholarship committee. Isabel Murphy is our chair. So Isabel, you want to introduce everyone on the committee?
Oh, very official. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Stephanie Butler, please wave. There we go. Okay. Lisa Braccio. Thank you. Christine Pearson. Thank you. And Maria Vanini. All right. And before we get started, we'd like to just, before we start honoring all of our exceptional and talented group of scholarship recipients, we'd like to give special thanks to the select board. This year has been incredibly tough, and we had a very large drop in donations, and we would have had very few scholarships to award if it had not been for you. Member and current chair, Kathy Cook, was made aware of the deficit and thankfully utilized the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA monies that were available. She presented the idea to the select board, and that night they voted $5,000 to be used for this year's recipients. Because of this, we were able to award scholarships to all 9 applicants who are so incredibly deserving. So our most sincere thanks to the board for all that you do for the town and for supporting our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel.
Now, what I would like to do is I would like to ask Lisa Braccio to come up and present a very special scholarship.
Great. Thank you very much. And again, thank you to the board as well. So good evening. I have the honor of presenting the Linda Hubley Memorial Scholarship. Linda was a resident that throughout her life exemplified what selfless service truly is. Her career was with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Department of Conservation and Recreation. She cared greatly for the environment and how we could all be better stewards of that. But her commitment to community was equally impressive. She created the first Southborough blog to keep us informed and to give us a platform to connect. She was the first person to step up when there was a friend or a neighbor in need. Linda's scholarship recognizes commitment to volunteerism, environmental protection, and/or ongoing education in these areas. This year's recipient, and if she would come up, Evangeline Hamill. All right, going to make you stand here with me while I read this, but I think she deserves to stand up here and receive all of our accolades. This year's recipient, am I saying it right? Evangeline? Okay, Hamill was a natural fit for Linda's scholarship. Evangeline will be attending Boston University studying biology with a focus in environmental biology. She was in both the science and the National English Honor Societies, an athlete in track and soccer, and was the president and leader of the Green Earth Club. She participated in trash cleanups around the school, worked in the community garden to donate food to the food pantries. She planned the removal of invasive species around the school and read to children at local libraries. A significant inspiration to her was her father, who is an air quality meteorologist. She would love to work for a company that researches ways to decrease air pollution and convert non-renewable energy sources to renewable energy sources. She hopes to motivate others to care about our environment. Congratulations, Evangeline, and best of luck in the future.
And there's more. What we would also like to do is to introduce Kate Donahue, who is our state rep. In addition to your scholarship, Kate has something that she'd like to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I had the pleasure of knowing some of the Hubley family members, not Linda, but her husband. And I'm very impressed with everything that was said. And all of these citations will say generally the same thing. I'll read it right now, and then when we do the others, we'll just give them out, if that's okay.
That's okay.
Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Evangeline Hamill in recognition of receiving a 2024 Southborough Scholarship with your academic performance, community service, and general commitment to excellence within the community. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Dated, of course, June 4th, signed by Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, and by me, your state representative. Congratulations.
Okay, and then there's your certificate and scholarship.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all the good that you do. It's a pleasure.
Congratulations.
So you might just want to hold on to it, okay? Okay, so the next next 6 are going to be done by the select board, one at a time. Each one of us are going to introduce one of the candidates and award the certificate and the check. So I'm going to start out, and I asked to do this one for a reason. So the first one is Olivia LaBelle. So Olivia, can you come up? So this one is one of the Carol Harris scholarships that we awarded to you. It's awarded to students who excel in academics, service to the town, and demonstrate through participation in gymnastics and or plan on majoring in education, PE, or recreation. Olivia personifies all these accomplishments and more. This candidate is the kindest high school student I have ever met in my 13 years of working with children. This is a direct quote from one of her teachers. So kindest ever. I think that's quite an accomplishment, Olivia. And I do know where that comes from. By devoting countless hours every day to rigorous gymnastics training, Olivia has competed as a varsity gymnastics athlete for 3 seasons. She's a recipient of the Midland-Wachusett League All-Star Award for exceptional performance for both 2022 and 2023. She's also a varsity indoor and outdoor track athlete and was awarded All-Star Awards for both by the Telegram and Gazette. All this while she was working as a gymnastics preschool and pre-K class instructor. She's a member of the National Honor Society, French Honor Society, and Science Honor Society. Olivia's community service and volunteerism is extensive. She has been a peer buddy for 4 years in the Best Buddies program and is an elected member of the Massachusetts Rhode Island Advisory Board. Olivia is also a youth activist with Southborough Neighbors for Peace. She was a speaker at the Peace Vigil and co-coordinated the Compassion for Comfort drive to benefit local children in foster care. She will be attending Williams College, majoring in biology, and neuroscience with a minor in public health. That is pretty impressive, Olivia. And one more thing that's not on here that I'm going to add, she's going to have to get used to cross-country travel, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Andrew.
Okay, next, I am also presenting a Carol Harris Scholarship, and as Kathy said, this is awarded to students who excel in academics, service to the town of Southborough, and demonstrate this through participation in gymnastics and/or plan and majoring in education, physical education, or recreation. So with that description, when the scholarship committee read Maggie Gorman's application, they all agreed she deserved a Carol Harris Scholarship. Maggie has been a member of the varsity cheerleading team at Algonquin since 2021. She was MVP in 2022 and 2023, team captain this year, and she was a Midland Wachusett League All-Star in 2021, 2022, and 2023. In addition, she was a varsity athlete on the gymnastics team for 2 years. She's also a member of both the National Art Honor Society and the Spanish National Honor Society. Maggie wants to expand her knowledge of Spanish to become fluent in the language. Her volunteer experience is extensive. She has been very involved with the Rotary Club since 2021, including attending the Leadership Conference. She's been volunteering at the Southborough Food Pantry since 2021, in addition to participate in the St. Matthew's Youth Ministry and Volunteer Program. And all this while she's been building her Instagram fitness page, which has a solid following and has taught her so much about marketing. Maggie will be studying business and marketing at the University of South Carolina. So congratulations to Maggie Gorman.
Vance. Pass, come on up.
Pleasure awarding this to Cassandra Mello. Comment before I start, as I read all of these, I'm embarrassed that I feel like a total slacker as I think about my own high school experience. So I was pretty much a zero, I guess, given the contributions that these individuals have made here. The committee agreed to award a town scholarship to this applicant, although they exceeded the criteria for all 3 scholarship categories. The committee agreed on town scholarship based on the following teacher recommendation. This candidate is one of the most involved, passionate students I have ever met. They are genuine in their interest in local, regional, and national politics. They care about ensuring all people have equal access to the freedoms our country and the state offer, and they do not simply offer it lip service. I have no doubt this candidate will make the world a better place. Cass Mello will be attending UMass Amherst, majoring in education to become a high school teacher. They presented their goals as follows. I envision myself playing a pivotal role in shaping curricular frameworks, fostering innovative teaching methodologies, and nurturing a school culture that celebrates diversity, equity, and inclusion. Moreover, I'm eager to explore opportunities at the intersections of education and policymaking, where I can advocate for systems, reforms that promote equitable access to quality education for all individuals, irrespective of socioeconomic background or demographic factors. Cass has demonstrated this by being a member of the Algonquin student government for 4 years. They are a workshop leader for the World of Difference program. As a Girl Scout for 13 years, Cass has achieved bronze, silver, and gold awards and has recently been awarded Eagle Scout Award. They've been a voting member of the Southborough Open Land Foundation for 3 years. And in addition, they're Director of Operations for the Algonquin Writing Center and an integral member of the My Southborough blog as a writer and photographer. So a great pleasure to award this to Cass Mello.
I was saying that I've had the pleasure of working with Cass over the past several years on my campaign and more importantly at the State House. Cass has been advocating with me for a number of bills, always very effectively, and Cass has also testified at the State House at hearings, sometimes by Zoom, on a number of occasions. Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay, Marguerite, we're coming back to you because your person's not here tonight. So you want to do her last. So Al, you're next for Elliot.
Elliot?
Hi, Southborough's Town Scholarship is awarded to students who excel in academics, work, and volunteer experiences and extracurricular activities. Elliot Yee embodies this and more. Elliot's pastor said in his recommendation that this applicant has the heart of a leader who cares about building up other people to be their best. Humility and a desire to serve while growing is a key part of this person's strengths. Elliot has been an active member of the music program at Algonquin High School, participating both in the full orchestra and jazz ensemble, as well as participating in the unified track team. He volunteers on the student ministry team, where he picks songs and arranges music to lead the fellowship in songs. He's also been a child care volunteer for the last 3 years. He is a member of the National Honor Society and was co-leader of the ARHS Asian Culture Club. While doing all of these fantastic activities, Elliot has also found time to work in the hospitality industry and as a camp counselor. In the fall, Elliot will be attending NYU and will be studying hospitality, travel, and tourism. He would like to incorporate sustainability principles into his learning and future career in the food and beverage operations, which he feels is an industry where environmental concerns are often overlooked.
Don't believe Elliot was able.
He's not here, Al. It doesn't look
Okay.
like, okay.
Okay.
All right, so we will get Elliot his certificate and proclamation and check.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one is Shelby. So this is Shelby Aker. So congratulations to Shelby. Shelby is our only applicant from Assabet Valley Regional Technical High School and enrolled in the Design and Visual Communications program. She will be attending Worcester State University. Shelby plans to study English and creative writing with a possible minor in graphic design. Shelby has worked as an assistant group leader at Southborough Extended Day Program for 2 years, was active in drama, art club, yearbook, International Order of the Rainbow, where she is an elected officer at the state level, as well as a gifted dancer. Shelby has always had an interest in writing that flourished during COVID-19 and the isolation it represented. Writing allows her to express her thoughts and feelings through words in a healthy way. She hopes her future includes becoming a script writer for the entertainment industry and writing her own book. Shelby gives back to not just her community, but others across the state through her volunteer efforts. Highest praise from instructor Deborah Harper on always being the first to volunteer and support others. One of her dreams is that she hopes she can help someone else fall in love with reading and writing. Congratulations, Shelby. Okay, Sam, the next one is yours. It's Kevin.
Is Kevin here? It's okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. Kevin has attended Algonquin Regional High School for 4 years and will be attending Gordon College in the fall. He is an engaging, confident, and mature student who's helped his town recreation programs, a ministry program, and he's on the varsity wrestling team. Kevin plans to turn his passion for entrepreneurship into uplifting ways to address social and economic challenges. He will be enrolled in Gordon College's new entrepreneurship program. Kevin is committed to honoring the legacy of those who have supported him by paying it forward and making a meaningful difference. His teacher states that his positive attitude, maturity, and enthusiasm will certainly give him an excellent foundation for his success at Gordon College. Congratulations, Kevin.
Thanks. Yeah, check, make sure the check's in there.
The next two aren't here, but we want to go ahead and tell everybody about them and make sure they get their awards. So Andrew, you want to do Sadia?
Yes. Sadia Kanal is receiving a town scholarship award. She has attended Algonquin Regional High School for 4 years and will be attending Salve Regina University in the fall. Sadia has a diverse and active extracurricular history with a strong emphasis on helping others in youth ministry and raising money for Relay for Life. She plans to become a doctor with a goal to make sure the patient and family members are treated with nothing but kindness. This goal is important to Sadia for personal reasons. She has become a Red Cross certified lifeguard and CPR certified. Sadia was given the highest rating from teacher Ben Berger, who said Sadia is the most deserving I know in the entire school. Congratulations again, Sadia.
And Margaret, you're going to do Madeline.
Okay, this will be in absentia. The Southborough Town Scholarship this one is going to Madeline Ho, which is the scholarship that's awarded to students who excel in academics, work, and volunteer experience and extracurricular activities. And Madeline demonstrates this in all areas. Her English teacher says she is a dedicated student who is assiduous, organized, conscientious, and is open to and seeks feedback. She supports fellow students and produces work that consistently exceeds expectations. For 9 years, she spent many hours at the gym training to be a gymnast. She was a member of the Algonquin gymnastics team, and for the last 2 years, she was captain of the team. While doing all of this, she also did babysitting and worked as a camp counselor and a ski instructor. She's a member of the National Honor Society and the Science Honor Society. She's volunteered for Best Buddies for 3 years and American Red Cross for 2 years, working on a project to provide safe drinking water to a school in Vietnam. In the fall, Madeline will be attending Boston University, where she plans on majoring in human physiology, and she will study to be a sports medicine physician. She hopes to expand her knowledge of the mechanics of the body and learn the reasons behind sports injuries and their treatments. Congratulations.
If all the scholars could meet us outside by the Southborough sign, we'd love to get a picture of the entire group, okay? Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And the select board thanks the Scholars Committee for all your hard work. We love doing things like this. We don't always have great things to do like this at our meetings. So this is so great to be able to be part of. So thank you. So we're going to adjourn for about 5 minutes and then we will open with our public hearing. Not quite. We need the hearing language. Does anybody have it?
This hearing?
Yeah,
It's in the packet. I actually, that's the one page I didn't throw. Is it? It's in the packet.
I don't have it in mind.
It was in the packet.
It's in the first version of the packet.
Okay. Here we go, here we go. Here it is. All right, so we ready? Okay, so we're back in session 6:34. Okay, so the next item on the agenda, we have a public hearing with our cable TV committee regarding renewal of the Verizon cable TV license. Mr. Purple?
So this is a notice of the cable television public hearing. Please take notice that the Select Board of the Town of Southborough, Massachusetts, as issuing authority for a cable license under MGL Chapter 166A, will hold a public hearing on June 4, 2024 at 6:30 PM. Public hearing will be held in the Townhouse, 17 Common Street, Southborough, Massachusetts. Purpose of the public hearing will be to determine whether to issue a cable television license to Verizon New England Incorporated. All applications, reports, statements, and license drafts to be considered at the hearing that constitute public records under state law are available for public inspection during regular business hours and for reproduction at a reasonable fee. Members of the public are invited to attend and be heard on the topic. A, whether the current cable operator is in full compliance with its currently existing cable license, and B, what are the town's future community-related cable needs. If you wish to join the meeting and provide comment via Zoom, please visit the town's virtual meeting page for the appropriate link, https://southboroughma.gov/674/virtual meetings.
Thank you. So I'm going to turn this over to the chair of the Cable TV Committee, Mr. Rubenstein.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, let me call the meeting of the Cable Television Committee to order. In addition to myself, we have Will Warren and Mr. Stivers, who are also members of the committee. I should also mention our counsel, Bill Solomon, is participating by Zoom. So if anyone has any questions that Will or I or Sam can't answer, he is available. You have in your packets a copy of the license that was reviewed and approved by the committee. That license has been submitted to Verizon, but has not yet been approved by Verizon. So we will be coming back at a later date for final approval by the Select Board of the license. We are optimistic that that will happen relatively quickly. Just a couple of notes. I'm not going to go through all of the information that's in the summary. I think it's pretty thorough. Just a couple of data points. Both Verizon and Charter have lost about 30% of their subscribers over the last 5 years. That has an impact. Keeping in mind, there are two revenue streams that Sam gets. One covers operating expenses, and that's provided by 5% of Verizon's gross revenues from Southborough subscribers. So obviously, as the number of subscribers goes down, that revenue goes down. The other piece is our capital expenses. In the current 5-year license, we got $95,000 over 5 years. In this draft license, we have asked for $128,000 over 5 years, despite the 30% drop in subscriptions. And I'm pleased to report Verizon has indicated they're willing to consent to that amount. So that's about a 35% increase over what's provided in the current license, and together with what we expect to get from Charter, will exceed the prospective capital budgets of SAM for the next 5 years. So with that, I will open it for any questions or comments.
So I'll start, and then I'll go to you. I just have one question. Is the opt-out language that is in here, is that new in this one because of their concern about people cutting the cord?
It's different. We had different language to protect us in the last agreement. We think this language is better, but it protects us. We will get all of the capital funding regardless of when they decide, if and when they decide to leave.
Okay, so you think they've agreed with the economic terms, the 5%, the 50 cents per subscriber and the 128? So we're pretty much set as far as the economic.
Yeah,
terms
it's
are here?
really just language is the issue at this point,
Okay.
if there is any, we don't know.
Okay, Al?
So the question I had was the 30% drop. Is that a 30% drop in revenue or number of subscribers?
Number of subscribers.
Because my experience with the Verizon is my bill goes up every month, so that may not necessarily correlate to their revenue.
So in 2021, the 5% produced about $160,000. This year it will produce about $127,000.
For just Verizon or for all three?
That's just Verizon.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. And also the prices have gone up over the years, certainly. And so that offsets a little bit of that.
Right, and they get ad
subscriber
revenue,
count.
and there are other sources that go into the gross revenue number.
But the trend is downward and they know it and they're concerned about it and cuts our here some.
Okay. Is that it? Marguerite? Sam?
Just make one comment. We do have a new attorney this time for this agreement, Mr. Solomon, who I think has done an excellent job. I was not involved, I was not a committee member last time this was negotiated, but I think there were a number of gaps in the agreement last time that Mr. Solomon has actually tightened up to our advantage. And so I think we've made great progress in terms of getting a stronger agreement for the town's interests here. And we hope that, and the strategy is to use Verizon as the starting point here and then be able to roll that language into the other two agreements. So
When do they come up?
not soon, but I think we're going to try to accelerate those negotiations as well.
Yeah, charter doesn't actually expire until the end of next year, but we expect to get the deal done sometime this year.
Okay.
Because as subscribers drop, they're less inclined to pay us. And so it'd be great if we could get this locked in sooner.
Before they drop. Andrew?
I don't have any questions.
All right, is there anyone in the audience, Vanessa, that has a question? Okay, no one there?
No hands up, I see. Yeah.
Okay, so again, we're not signing anything approving this. This is just to solicit feedback from the public and or us, and then the committee will take it from here to bring us back a contract ready to sign. Right, that's the plan?
And we're required to hold a public hearing, which this does, so it gets through the legal requirement for us.
All right, that's what we're doing. So can I have,
This was published in accordance with the public
Newspapers, right?
Right.
Yes. So,
so can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
so move.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Okay, so, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to Mr. Solomon, who was ready to speak, but didn't need to, so. As I tell,
Television, the cable television committee meeting is adjourned.
that's right.
Thank
As I tell people, I rarely gotten in trouble for what I didn't say, so.
So we have another enjoyable item coming up next. Is that you, Julie? Okay. So who actually participated in this from the select board? Sam, did you go? Al? Al? And then I think Andrew Pfaff and possibly Tim Martell came also from the advisory committee? Okay. Okay. All right, come on up, ladies.
Come on over to the table.
We have another citizens group that have a seat, pull up another chair.
Why don't you put it so that we can see it?
Yeah, here we go, right here.
Okay, there you go. Here we go. Here we go.
High tech.
So one of the things, you're going to have to speak into the microphone. What you should do is introduce yourself. You have to say where you live, and then we'll proceed. That's the protocol. Okay?
And then one of you summarize what you've done, so that we kind of, people who are watching will understand what you did here. And introduce your teacher too, please. Okay, she thinks she's going to sit there in the back and not do anything, so we're not going to let her.
Thank you there, Mike. Okay. So, hello, I am Reed Malhotra. I'm Trisha Vito. And I'm Hannah Verghese. And we're all Southborough residents from Mrs. Jenks' Red class. Okay, I'll start. Hello, everyone. We're very grateful to have this opportunity to stand in front of you today and present our Civics Action Project. We're so thankful to live in a town where officials engage in students and allow them to use their voices to make their community better. I, Reith Malhotra, Hannah Varghese, and Trisha Vidal have come here today to explain our Civics Action Project, centering on lowering speed limits. The state has recently implemented a new requirement for all 8th graders to participate before they graduate. This requirement is the Civics Action Project. The Civics Action Project allows students to be civically engaged in their community and learn how to work together or individually to solve problems. The outcome of this project has to benefit the community in the long run. The three of us are here to represent Mrs. Jenks, Red Class from Trotter Middle School, to talk about our project, which we made on speed limits. So to complete the Civics Action Project, we had to complete 6 steps, as you can see on our board. So on step one was examining ourselves in our community. To do this step, Mrs. Jenks gave us 2 sheets of paper, which you can see below the yellow sign. And these papers highlight our core value and what we thought was most important to us, individually and as a class. When we collected all our data from our class, we incorporated the most valuable values in our Civics Action Project.
Step 2 was identifying an issue. So based on the priorities that we were able to identify from the above 2 charts, we found that the safety of our community was something that we all really valued. So then we used our background knowledge of living in Southborough for all these years, and we determined that Southborough has a history of unsafe driving manners on certain streets. So we decided a good way to incorporate community safety into our project was through targeting lowering speed limits. Step 3 was assessment, and we had to ask ourselves 3 main questions.
Can this problem be fixed?
In the mic.
Can this problem be fixed?
Yes, this problem can be fixed by changing speed limits of streets in need, and new speed limits also create less accidents and a better environment.
How will this problem be fixed?
We determined that we could fix this problem by communicating to you all and talking to you about requesting changing speed limits.
Is this problem being fixed reasonable for how much it costs?
Through the emails that we sent to you all, we found out that the select board already has the option to change speed limits on streets that are not state-owned, so we believe it's a reasonable request to ensure our safety. Step 4 was developing an action. So first we created 2 separate Google Forms, one for parents and one for students. Students had over 200 responses and parents had about 20. In this form, we asked questions regarding if they felt safe or if they had any streets that they felt were unsafe. And through these forms, we received many responses and street names and a lot of accurate data.
After assessing this data, we developed our next steps. And to do this, we contacted other outside officials and we asked them questions about our project through emails. And we contacted the Chief Police Officer, Ryan Newell, and a Select Board member, Al Hamilton, and a Department of Public Works member. And the first picture is some data from the student Google form, and the second one is an email that we sent to Ryan Newell.
So in that first picture, it's a question asking how frequently students see driving in an unsafe manner. And about 50% or more than half said 1 to 2, and that means that they see it very often. So that's how we knew that this was a good thing that we should target. And in the email, everything that's in blue, if you can see it, are streets that Ryan Newell suggested that we target.
And these steps led us to step 5, which is taking action. To do this, we contacted Al Hamilton and we asked him about changing speed limits. And after this, we sent another email which targeted specific roads, which were Oak Hill Road and Parkerville Road. The last step is step 6, which is reflecting and showcasing. Our class has put in weeks of research and time to this project to propose this idea to you all. This project has opened up our eyes to the civic world, and now we feel more compelled to be civically engaged in our community. After completing this project, we have come to the conclusion that lowering the speed limits on certain streets, such as Oak Hill Road and Parkerville Road, would benefit Southborough and its residents. We would greatly appreciate it if you took this idea into consideration, and we thank you all for listening to our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. So you ended up focused on Oak Hill and Parkerville, two quite different roads. So let's talk about Parkerville for a second. We've already lowered it to 25. We did that last year. We've got speed humps. You know, there's speed bumps and there's speed humps. Do you guys know that? They're different. So you got those, you got sidewalks.
Speed tables too.
So I'm surprised that Parkerville's on your list. I'm not surprised about Oak Hill. So Parkerville still seems to be a problem, even with the humps. Because you hit that hump, one of those humps going fast, or you're going to hurt the bottom of your car. So I would think people would learn pretty quick about that one,
New
but
humps
still.
are substantial. The old humps where
Yeah.
you could do it at 40 miles, 50 miles an hour, but the new ones are a surprise for people who got accustomed to the old ones.
These roads were based on the data that we collected from our Google Forms, so that's what the students of Trotter said. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's part of Parkerville that's 20 now for the school zone there with the flashers.
Yep.
So people are supposed to slow down even more there.
So this is great. We really appreciate you coming and all the hard work. I'm glad Al was helpful as far as getting you your data, but congratulations on doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'd like to hear from our police chief about what he thinks about this. I mean, these are decisions that communities have to make, and, you know, we're not going to make a decision today, but, you know, I will commend you on bringing data. We love it when people actually do the homework to gather data to try and figure this out. And, you know, I wish everybody who made a presentation here was as organized as you are.
Disappointing that the parents let us down knowing the data collection.
Really? Really?
So they had contacted me, students had contacted me, and they had reached out about where were seeing a lot of speed. So I've been in my office for a while, so I reached out to my officers and asked them, where are you seeing speed now? Where are you seeing repeat offenders and making a lot of the car stops? So the feedback that I got were from the officers on the road and where they're pulling cars over, where they're seeing the same speeding habits consistently throughout town. So that's what I provided the girls with the list. And I agree, Parkville's at 25. You know, when we gave them the list of Parkerville, it was both sides. So there is, you know, Parkerville South is.
That's true.
Speedway, yeah.
Yeah. And Central Street is actually, I'm not sure if it was on the list that I gave you, but also another one that we're seeing problems with as well. So,
Yep.
But yeah, I think the girls did a great job, and highly commend them for getting involved and reaching out, and congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, for bringing them. So while they are putting away their board, the one that we skipped was intentional. So unfortunately, we thought we were going to appoint a new rec director tonight. And the town where she currently works talked her into staying, and we only heard a few hours ago. So we're disappointed, but we had a good group of candidates, so we will immediately go back to work to hire Tim Davis as replacement. The good news is the assistant is starting tomorrow. So Christina does have some help. And then we think she's got a camp director that's going to be picked very soon, because the camps are going to start on the 24th. So anyway, so that's too bad, but we'll go back to the drawing board on that one. Okay. So chair's report. So I've got two things to report. As everyone knows, I am the select board representative to the Neary Building Committee, but I'm also the chair of the Neary Building Committee Finance Subcommittee. We've got several subcommittees that are part of the NBC per state law in the MSBA that we have to work with. So we are now making, things are moving very fast. So we've got the first set of estimates for the 12 alternatives that the MSBA asked us to look at as far as the school permutation about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. So a team of the town treasurer, Andrew Pfaff, our advisory chair, and also on the subcommittee with me, myself, and Becky Pellegrino, working with our bond council, Unibank, put together our initial projections of what the impact of the 12 proposals would be on taxes, tax rates, et cetera. So we disclosed our results last Thursday night at our first subcommittee meeting. And then we did the same thing last night to the full Neary Building Committee. So we've got a set of preliminary numbers that we've spent a lot of time on. We've got a 5-year budget put together that shows the impact of taxes. So this is just a start. Last night this is what's important. We did narrow down the 12 choices to 3. So the 3 choices that will now be considered as far as the school project are to build a new 2-grade school, a new 4-grade school, and a completely renovated 4-grade school, which we made bigger too. So that's the 3 choices that we had last night. We really only wanted to do 2, which is a 2-grade school, 4-grade school, new schools, but MSB wants us to look at 3. So we've got to show them we looked at 3 over the summer. We still are going to only recommend 1 in August, and 1 goes to town meeting, but we are going to look at 3 from this point on, with the focus really on the new 2-grade school and the new 4-grade school. So more to come on that. The numbers will continue to be refined. The estimator that started out with this will continue to refine numbers, but this is going to move very fast. We expect to have 4 meetings, I believe is what we decided last night, before we've got to have a supposedly decision made. I'm not sure we're going to have enough time to do it. It may have to be delayed to do this right, but that's at least the tentative schedule for the rest of the summer. So it's going to be busy. Okay, that's the members report, Al. You can ask a quick question, but it's not a Q&A on this one, but I'll answer one question.
So I've been critical in the past of this board for not providing budgetary guidance on these large capital projects. And I think at some point, very quickly, perhaps we should place on the agenda discussions about our overall capital situation, given the variety of claims against our borrowing capacity that people are envisioning for the future. And I think we need to do that sooner rather than later, so that everything I've seen suggests this is much bigger than a breadbasket.
It's definitely bigger than a breadbasket, no doubt about it, but that's exactly what these committees are doing. So I'd say the other way is to tune into these meetings, because there's a lot of information that's being supplied. But I hear you. So the intent is to get to a point that we really feel comfortable with the numbers, and we're not there yet. Clearly, we're going to have to cut down the proposed size of the schools. I can already tell you that. The original cost, the current estimated cost is too much. So they're going to have to cut down some square footage. So that's being worked on right now. So this is, it's going to be truly an evolving process that's going to change probably every week. Okay. All right. So that's that one. Hopkinton, this is the first time I've done an update on this one for a while. What's happened recently that seems to have restarted this project is Hopkinton's recent town election. They elected 2 new select board members. As we all know, they've had some issues in Hopkinton, some pretty serious issues that have made them focus on other things. But I've talked to the acting town manager and am about to talk to the new board chair. The new board chair was just elected, but he was a previous select board member, so he's got experience. So they are very anxious to get this going again. As we know, Tim Tees is designing away. We haven't hired our auditor because we are going to get the IMA signed first. So I'm hopeful that in the next month or so, we're going to have an IMA ready to present to you to be signed with the same terms in it that were decided about a year and a half ago. So it looks like we are starting to move that in the right direction again. Okay, and just remember, so that it's clear that we haven't forgotten this, part of this process is we get the IMA signed, we then have a neighborhood forum on Oak Hill to show them what the tank's going to look like as far as the height, et cetera. And then we've got to go to the ZBA for a height variance on the Oak Hill tanks. That's kind of steps before we truly go forward with it. But we do have the money approved for the audit. We did that at the 2023 town meeting. So once we get the IMA signed, we should be able to hire our auditor to start working with Tim Tees to basically verify the design that he's doing. Okay. All right. Al, I believe you've got the next 3.
I got 2 and 3.
So Sam, you're doing the MTC survey?
I'm happy to talk about it. I thought Andrew made that.
Or
request.
Andrew's doing it?
Well, there's not that much to comment upon other than that the MTC fall town meeting survey, which again is to find out from people whether, first off, what are the reasons that people go to town meeting or not go to town meeting, but also to get information about whether people prefer to have a fall town meeting on a weeknight or during the weekend. And the survey has been distributed. I've seen it pretty widely distributed online. So the purpose of having this on a members report is just to remind people about it, encourage people to fill out the survey. And I think it demonstrates, our trying to listen to people before we make a decision about what day the fall town meeting is going to be, which we'll need to decide fairly quickly.
And it's on the bottom of the front page of the website. So if you scroll down on the homepage of the website, there are a bunch of notices at the bottom, and one of them is the survey box that you can click on and take the survey.
So the plan is to try to set the fall town meeting date officially on the 18th. Because the planning board really needs as much time as they can to, they need to know the date, and they need the 90 days so that they can submit their proposed zones to the state for approval. So time's passing. So, we talked about September 23rd and 24th, and Monday and Tuesday. We're going to wait till we get the survey and see what it says, and then try to make a decision based on hopefully a good representative survey. All right. Okay, Al.
So I attended the Conservation Committee virtual meeting where the trustees were talking about their plans to return agriculture to Chestnut Hill Farms. At this point, they don't yet have a plan, and they aren't sure when they're going to have one. I am scheduled to meet with the vice president who's in charge of this region on Friday. And my intent is to discuss with him whether there are things sort of outside of sort of the purview of the conservation restriction that the town might do to facilitate the return of some form of farming activity to the farm. I think that was certainly an expectation of the community when we purchased the CR. And so I'll have more information as of next Friday. Then the second item, I attended a meeting of the CPAC regarding moving the available funds from community housing to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The CPAC was not particularly interested in doing that at a fall town meeting, and they seem to want a good deal more specificity than in the past. They were hoping that we could actually identify a specific project. We did have some useful discussion about, use the money or return it by some date. And so there's more work to be done here, but we've at least begun to have the conversation. That's it.
Thank you. So Vanessa, are you going to do the one-stop report?
Yeah, I
Marcus will
promised
do it?
I'd try to keep her in her seat.
Okay.
So, and I'll kind of tell you why. This is regarding the one-stop grant update. Vanessa and our EDC coordinator, Lee Emerson, have been working diligently all week and last week to try to complete the application for the branding and wayfinding in the historic downtown district on the Mass Downtown Initiative for the one-stop grant. One of the things that you can do to bolster your grant is to provide a letter of support from a local business owner. And Vanessa had got Ginny Martins to write a very nice letter supporting the initiative. And just as Vanessa and Leah were all set to get this submitted today, One Stop sent out an email and said there were terrible delays in the portal today. Everything was kind of grinding to a halt. I could be wrong, but I believe that Ms. Hale's over there actively trying to push this thing into the portal. We're hoping to have that final application with the attachments submitted tonight or first thing tomorrow. But I just wanted to acknowledge the work that they have done on this. It's really not, it seems like a small endeavor, but it really is a good amount of work. And again, we just don't want to put something in for show. We want to put something in to get a grant. I really appreciate the efforts. And also Kathy Cook had helped out in taking a look at this and and offering her, her advice on the submittal.
But it's
two-
due tomorrow, correct?
It is due tomorrow, and I really think that was why they wanted to get it submitted today.
Yeah.
But again, here we are. Two other quick things. One, if you have had an opportunity in the past couple of weeks, or you happen to be, and again, this is all about Chief Puntini. You know, if you happen to be down at his pinning ceremony on Saturday, you had a chance to like stick your head into the new room that is being put on off of the kitchen in the community center. I just want to acknowledge the work that Assabet, you know, and the kids have done down there. It's been a really great partnership. I think that, you know, the seniors have enjoyed having the kids have enjoyed having the seniors. John Parent has done a nice job coordinating everything. The room is all but finished. I think anybody who's seen the room would love to have that in their home. And they're simply waiting on some carpeting now. It's a great programming space. You know, when Vanessa had walked in on Saturday, she goes, "This would be great to hold an educational session where employees and things like that." So I think there's a lot of things that space can be used for, but I just wanted to acknowledge the students at Assabet, you know, and thank Assabet for keeping us on the list and doing that project for us. We saved a lot of money. We have a great product, and I think it's going to be something that the seniors in the town can be proud of for a while.
Looks great.
The one other thing I had I notified the board about this in one of my Friday updates. But John Parent has told me that he spoke with Bob Moran at National Grid. Bob had said that outside of 7 of the new LED streetlights, all they're still to be installed, the LED street lighting conversion project has been completed. You know, John is satisfied with how everything has come out, how it looks. He's getting positive feedback regarding the new lighting. And the most important thing, he's requested that Bob move forward with informing the proper department, National Grid, about the completion of the project and the town's incentive check to come back to us. And I was looking back through my emails. I cannot be sure, but I believe that the incentive check was probably about $60,000. So they paid for the work to be done, and we get an incentive check for this to happen, and we'll also see benefits in lower, you know, electric rates. So it really is a win-win. This is something that, you know, John has really been pushing National Grid and trying to get, you know, the tariffs approved, which gave us the type of lights that we were looking for. So this is, you know, it's, you know, as Kathy likes to say, to check that box, right? So it's nice to finally get this project done. So, you know, kudos to John. Thank you to Bob Moran at National Grid for helping to push this across the finish line.
Mark, I'd comment that I've had 2 people, unsolicited comments, 2 people come up to me and said, "Those new lights are wonderful.
Yep.
Big difference, great improvement in terms of visibility." So,
I've had one, so yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
and nobody's complained. So.
That's right.
Okay,
Good.
all right, let's end there.
That's right.
Yeah, that's,
Kathy,
that's good.
could I add one more point?
Yes, you can.
The mild roar going down here. As I was driving in here today, I happened to notice that our friends from Belco have finished the mowing and planting, it looks like, on the Heritage Park. And the St. Mark's crew looks like finished their side of it over there with the parking lot and paving and plantings.
They just striped a lot, I think, in the past couple of days.
And the grass is coming up. I think it looked wonderful.
Yeah.
It looked a little weedy, messy down there previously, but they mowed it, got the plantings in. Looks like a wonderful space. So I think that finally that can be declared as victory here.
So you drove by after I did, because I saw them out there planting, but I
Yep,
had not seen,
Yep,
I had
they
not
were
seen.
packing up when I came in. So
No, it
looks
was
great.
nice to see.
So I've got one more I thought you would do, but since you didn't, I'm going to do it, which is to talk about Saturday. So since Chief Puntini, we know loves to be,
We've been talking about him.
well,
twice already.
since we know how much he loves to be recognized and focused on, we're going to do it again. So the pinning ceremony, I thought, went very well. He had his lovely wife and his little cute daughter there. And there was a ton of firemen from all over. I mean, it's always so impressive when they're all decked out in their beautiful uniforms. Chief Newell was there. So it was a nice day. It was a fairly brief ceremony per his request, so we honored that. But you know, it was great. So he is officially on board at this point. So thank you. Okay, consent agenda. We've got quite a few things on here. So we've got A through L. So what does anybody want to hold?
A,
Aye.
Anything else? No? Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items B, C, D, E, F, G, H, J, K, and L.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, Sam, A.
One comment on April 23rd minutes. I made this suggestion previously. I'm not sure why it wasn't changed, but line 175 talks about ARPA contract dates. And they get June 30th is the date mentioned in there for contracts, which I know we sent out a notice asking departments to confirm plans by June 30th, but the technical date is December 31st, 24.
Yeah,
for
we just don't want them to
contract.
know that. We want to think it's due.
Oh, but, okay, whatever. I yield to superior knowledge on that then. And then on May 21st, line 111, it should say senior center.
Okay,
And
that it?
line 143, which is at the bottom of the page on the packet that I saw, the end of the line is cut off. I'm not quite sure what it was supposed to say.
so it's just cut off. It's not that it's wrong. You just don't know what it
Yeah,
says.
it was one of our new dispatchers, the last name was cut off, and then there might have been some text after that, I don't know.
All right, so we'll
So
get that fixed.
Whatever was the original there, we'll fix that.
Anything else?
That's it.
Anybody?
Well, and then since I noticed also on line 51, the April 23rd minutes, for the John Bowen as a former.
Mike.
Mike's not on.
Yes, on line 51, instead of DWP superintendent, it should be DPW superintendent.
All right.
And I think Mr. Alvidi, is his last name Alvidi or Alvadi?
I don't know.
We'll just have to check, make sure.
Okay. All right, anything else on the minutes from the
No.
23rd? Okay, all right. So to have a motion to approve the open session minutes from, the amended open session minutes from April 23rd and then from May 21st.
Second,
All in favor? Okay, Andrew?
yes. I've gone back and looked at my schedule and the August 13 date, I am finalizing my vacation plans, but I expect now to be out of town on the 13th. And I'm wondering if we could instead meet on the 6th.
Okay, so let's go over all the dates, because September 2nd doesn't work. That's Labor Day, so we're going to have to do the 4th and not. So there's two choices there, so we got to stick with the 4th on that one. And Al has requested that we change the goals meeting to June the 10th instead of the 11th. Okay, so let's go in chronological order. So let's start with that one. I know Marguerite can't come on either the 10th or 11th. Can the other four of us do the goal setting meeting on June 10th, which is a Monday instead of the Tuesday? So obviously Al can.
Yes,
Yes,
Sam?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so change it to
Can you
June
do that?
10th, yeah.
Thank you. My wife thanks you.
Okay, good. We're getting her good graces. That's good. Tell her not to forget that.
What time and do we know a location yet?
We're planning on public safety building
I had 6:30.
at 6:30. You think we'll be okay? Okay. Okay, then just to keep going with because we got a lot of meetings that are happening back to back. So we got that. So remember Thursday at 8 o'clock, we've got the potential appointment of the new building inspector by Zoom, right? And then Andrew and I, we meet with the planning board, chair and vice chair at 9.
Mhm.
That's the 6th. The 10th now, we've got the goal setting meeting. Then we've got our normal next meeting on the 18th of June. Okay, and
Mhm.
then the July meeting is what day? So then we've got July 16th. That works for everybody? So only one meeting in July so far. It might change, but so far. Okay,
August 13th.
okay, so August 13th is the one you can't do, Andrew?
That's correct.
Okay, so why don't we look at the 6th?
Yes,
Yes,
that works for everyone.
everybody? So we change August to the 6th. September, we have to do the 4th. 2nd is Labor Day, so we can't do the 3rd because it's election day. So we got to do that one, the 4th, the Wednesday. Okay, September 17th. I'm just going to keep going until someone says no. October 1st. October 15th. So now November 4th, we do have choices there. We could do the 4th or 6th. Again, we've got a problem. The Tuesday is election, so we've got the 4th or the 6th. And remember, we got a special town meeting coming up, so we don't even have that on here. So there's going to be more meetings than this, but this at least
Let's
is
do
a
the 4th.
4th. Everybody okay with the
Okay.
4th, the Monday? Okay, November 19th, December 3rd and 17th. Okay, and again, this is, this will change because we got special town meeting. Right? Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the amended schedule of meetings between now and December 31st, as we just discussed.
Second.
All in favor? That was done. All right, what time, John Butler's not going to be here till 8, is that right?
8-ish, yeah.
Well, guess what? We're going to get done, we're going to get through these before 8, I
I thought he
think.
said
but-
maybe
okay.
7:30.
All right.
Practical. Matt, can you give him a call?
Hi, Matt. I didn't see you over there.
Ah.
Okay, so let's keep going. I'll just talk a little bit slow. All right, the next one is, remember at the town meeting, we approved 2 warrant articles that required 2 special acts. One's an amendment of a existing special act and one is a new special act. The first one is we're trying to amend the we're trying to amend the special act of 1991 that established the DPW to do 2 things. One is to eliminate the PWPB permanently, and 2 is to change the tree warden so that it's not the select board. Instead, we designate the tree warden to be supervised by the DPW superintendent, correct?
Right.
Okay, so Jay Tellerman's office has prepared the language that has to go into, and I guess we go straight to Kate.
Yes.
So we send this to Kate. So we've got a cover letter, you've got the language. The cover letter for the second one was just done this afternoon, but it's similar. So we've got both special acts in front of us, and then we've got one cover letter and then a second one that you may not have seen yet. So does anyone have any questions, any edits, any comments on what we intend to submit as far as those go?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
First, I've actually looked at these and it seems to me it makes sense. Given I was involved in the public works thing. And again, kudos to Mr. Tim Litt, who's been instrumental in pulling that paperwork together and driving that process. So hugely helpful, and thanks to him that we're in good shape on that now. And again, it conforms to what I believe we've discussed on the Public Works Special Act. On the other one relative to pension obligation bonds, again, it looks to me like it's consistent with what other towns have done. So I'm not an attorney. I'm assuming Hallerman and company have signed off on that one. It also works, but it certainly seems to be, again, consistent with other towns in Massachusetts who've done this.
That came straight from Lock Lord, who I think
Yeah,
represents like every town on.
so
on
that's
bond,
our,
so-
that's our bond council.
Yep.
So bond council
Yep.
basically took what has already been done and previously approved by the communities and worked with Jay and just answered a couple of
Yep.
questions, and so they're
Yep.
comfortable with that.
Yeah, I didn't see anything there that was, again, out of line with what I've read about, heard about with that one. So I'm comfortable with both of those.
So Andrew pushed this along, so this is good to get this done. So our vote tonight is to say, go ahead and let's get it submitted, so we hopefully get it approved soon. So, someone want to make a motion to approve the language?
I move that the select board approve submitting these 2 special acts to the legislature.
Second.
All in favor? Done. Okay, there is a new list of board appointments that is on, the table in front of you. This is, hot off the press. The problem with doing this is you've got to get people to say, yes, they want to be reappointed. It's hard to do. Sometimes people just don't answer, no matter how many times you ask them. So Melanie has striven mightily to get hold of everyone. There's still some people she hasn't heard from, but this is where at least it stands tonight. So does everybody understand the color coding?
I think so.
So what we're going to focus on tonight is the purple, the lavender, the reappointments. So my suggestion is to ask if anyone, if there is any appointment they want to hold. Then we'll hold those, and whoever they are, we'll ask to come in on the 18th and discuss whatever issue anybody wants to discuss with them. And tonight we'll go ahead and appoint anyone who is in the lavender who we don't want to hold. So that'll take care of probably the vast majority of them.
I could suggest that we do it by committee so that we hold the committee rather than the individual. Because I think there are some cases where, we may want to talk to a single person and other cases where we may want to have a discussion with the committee about goal alignments.
Well, we definitely have time to do it. Okay, yeah, we got some time to kill. So you want to go committee by committee?
Yeah,
Okay.
because,
All right.
I think most of these will be uncontroversial and a few will be.
Okay. Now, the next item is we're going to talk about committees themselves as far as anything we think should be reorganized, reduced as far as size goes to take care of some of the vacancies. So that's connected to this. So that's coming too. Okay. All right. So everybody okay with the plan to start going committee by committee? Okay. So let's start with the first one, the new 21 Highland Future Use Committee. So they're all up for reappointment. This was a one-year thing, so we've got to reappoint all of them. Anybody have any issue with this one? We've got one vacancy here.
No.
Okay. All right, so let's just go ahead and reappoint committee by committee since we're talking about them. So we'll just take a vote on each one of them. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Andrew, you want to do all the motions and then Sam, you do all the seconding?
I move that the select board reappoint to here, I would say December 31st, 2024, because I think we set a end date for this committee of that. That's when the charge is, I think.
That sounds right to me
Yeah.
too. Okay.
So I move that the board reappoint each member of the 21 Highland Future Use Committee to a term not to exceed December 31st, 2024.
A process question. Should we actually wait until we get response from the 4 folks who have not responded before we reappoint them?
If we go ahead and appoint it, we've at least done if they say yes, and then if they say no, then, the votes,
Resign. Okay.
it's moot at that point, and we got to find some more people to be
Oh.
on it.
How about this, we could say, we would vote to reappoint them pending a, positive response from
Yeah.
them before our
Yeah.
next meeting that they intend to,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I'll second that.
Okay. All right, all in favor? All right, so that one's done. Okay, Affordable House Trust Fund Committee, we're all set there. There's nothing to reappoint there. We're all 6/30/25. We know that we're going to be talking about that one. Maybe in the
So
next
just a
item.
question about that. So the way that's constituted, everyone has the terms that go together with each other.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it
I've
looks
done
like.
differently last time,
Okay.
but
Looks
that's
like
what we
But we know we're going to talk about that during our goal setting meeting. We're not
Yep.
going to talk about our summer, so let's just pass on that one. There's
Yep.
nothing to be done on
The,
that.
the state law, I think, requires no less than 2 years, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Okay, now the next one, we've got one on that we may want to question, but.
one question. for-
Okay, so we got 2 vacancies on this one. You got 3 on it and 2 are up for renewal, which is Sam and Will Warren. And it looks like Will Warren said yes, and Sam, I assume you said yes. 'Cause
Correct.
You're not yellow. Okay, so anybody have any question on these 2? Okay, so Andrew,
I move that the board reappoint Sam Stivers and William Warren to the Cable Television Committee.
Somebody else should second.
Do we need a term?
yeah,
Or-
we should have a term. Sam, do you know what it is?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Vanessa,
It looks
can
like
you,
it's 3 years.
can you go to the town website and see if you can see what the terms are? I mean, again, we've got time.
So it looks like it's 3 years.
Okay, so we think it's 3 years. So let's vote for 3 years and then we can correct it if we're wrong. Sorry to put you on the spot. But you're used to it, aren't you? So we're gonna skip that one while she's looking. I know capital is 3 years. I'm positive about that one. So there's only one there. So let's let's do Steve Holland for 6/30/27. Andrew,
I move that the board appoint Steve Holland to Capital Improvement and Planning Committee for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
Second.
all in favor?
Mhm.
Okay, next one is the CPC, which is,
Hold.
Yeah, I want to hold.
you want to hold the whole committee for now?
Yeah, I mean,
So do you want to discuss it in the next agenda item as far as the committee itself? That's what that's for, is to discuss committees and anything we should be done to try to reduce the amount of committees, to reorganize committees. So that can be the next one. So you just want to hold that committee discussion to the next?
yeah,
Item? Okay.
let's do that and then we can come back to.
All right, Conservation Commission, they've heard from one. Andrew and I saw Melinda Upton at transfer station recently, and I think she is going to re-up. There was no indication.
Yeah,
she
there
wasn't.
was absolutely no indication she would not.
All right, so let's go ahead and appoint the two of them. I also believe these are 3 years. I mean, there's very few things that aren't 3 years, so it's definitely the default.
Yeah.
Right, so let's just do 3 years this one. So go ahead, Andrew.
I move that the select board reappoint to the Conservation Commission for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027, Melinda Upton and Kevin Farrington.
Second.
So what you say is if they come in and say, no, maybe what do you say? Too bad, we already appointed you.
That's called.
Too late. It's
Yeah,
too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
All right, Council on
We
Aging.
got to vote.
We have to
Oh,
vote.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, all in favor? All right, COA, we've got 1, 2, 3, and they've all said yes, and I assume they're 27, right? Agree?
Yes.
Okay, Andrew?
I move that the board, I'm gonna need help with Joyce's last name.
I know.
Noskus.
Magnoskis. Okay. I move that the board reappoint to a term not to exceed June 30, 2027, Joyce Magnoskis, Mary Ann Anderson, and Bill Harrington.
Second.
All in favor? All right, those three are done. Okay, our poor EDC. All right, let's see. So nothing to appoint there. We still got a quorum, but barely, right?
The golf course is an ad hoc committee, just 1 year?
I think it's 1 year. Yes.
So stay on EDC for a moment. So Rob is not renewing for sure,
Yep.
right?
And I also actually, on the train in to Boston today, I ended up sitting next to Rob on the train ride in, and he did confirm that no, he's not re-upping.
You can talk him into it?
No.
Okay.
And I heard Mike say he's not re-upping too, so.
So then that brings it below a quorum, so.
No, they've got exactly a
three.
quorum. That's it. They've all got to be there.
Oh, that's correct. Okay, because
So they don't have anything to spare, so.
Yep.
All right, so that one's a problem. Okay, golf course committee, is ad hoc, and they're all up, right?
Yep.
So do we know what the term is on that one?
1 year, we
1
think.
year? Okay,
Yeah, as an ad hoc committee.
all right, and it looks like they all said yes, so that's good. That's a good committee. All right, go ahead, Andrew.
I move that the select board reappoint all 5 existing members of the golf course committee to a term not to exceed June 30, 2025.
Second.
All in favor? All right, that one's done. The Historical Commission only has one up, and that's Michelle Hawkinson, and I'm pretty sure that is 3 years. Anybody disagree with that?
I think so.
Okay, Andrew?
I move that the board reappoint Michelle Hawkinson to the Historical Commission for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, Housing Authority. I know it's not up, but I'm confused. So I thought, I guess,
We
I
have,
thought B,
she was elected.
yeah, in place of Nancy, right?
Excuse
Nancy
me?
withdrew.
No,
maybe
no.
So Nancy's on there.
Nancy Morris was in the race. She withdrew.
Okay, all right. so
Nancy
this-
Suter is the one we appointed last
So
year.
that's our only appointee in
think
this.
so.
Okay, all right, so she's all set. All right, the next one is,
Madam Chair, Mr. Butler is here and
oh, excellent.
so
John, I'm talking slow because we thought we were. Okay, so we will be with you shortly. Now I'll speed it up a little bit. Okay, so the next one is the MAPC. Nothing to do there. We need to fill the vacancy. MWRC, Sam and Mimi. So PB voted Mimi, and I guess we confirm Mimi. So anybody have a problem with those two? Sam?
Nope.
You're
One-
willing,
one year
you're gonna
term.
do it?
Yep.
Okay, all right, Andrew?
I move that the board reappoint as the select board representative to the Metro West Regional Collaborative Sam Stivers for a term not to exceed June 30, 2025, and reappoint Mimi Luttrell as the planning board representative for a term not to exceed June 30, 2025.
You think it is 1
I'll
year?
Second myself,
Okay,
somebody else.
all right, so I'll second this one. All in favor?
Abstain.
So those two are done. Next one is Sam again to the MWRTA. Sam, you willing to do that one too?
Absolutely.
You think it's 1 year?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
I move that the board reappoint Sam Stivers to the Metro West Regional Transit Authority for a term not to exceed June 30, 2025.
Okay, sorry, Marguerite. Okay, all in favor? All
Abstain.
right,
Abstain.
the famous MTC. Okay, let's see what we got. We got two here. Orla, oh, Matt is up. Matt is up. So Matt, you think these are 3 years? Okay, well, we think they are.
It's actually lifetime, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So this is good. You don't have any vacancies. This is great. Okay, so Andrew,
I move that the board reappoint to the Municipal Technology Committee Daley Orla as the select board representative. And,
We don't do the library one. Do they, do they?
well, let's just do it anyway.
let's just do it and then we're confirming
Uh,
with libraries.
And Matt Probst as a library trustee appointee for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, the next one is the ad hoc Neary School Building Committee that I'm on. So it's ad hoc and everybody's up. So everybody, as far as I know, is willing to serve. It looks like they said yes. So Andrew?
I move that the select board, term again here.
6/25.
Okay.
Year.
I move that the board reappoint all existing members of the Neary School Building Committee for a term not to exceed June 30, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Okay, Open Space Preservation Committee. We've.
Hold.
Okay, hold on a second. We got two, this is two vacancies. Who's up? There is one up here. So we're gonna hold that one, talk about that one, and then we'll talk about the appointment at the same time.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got two we're holding so far. The Pilot Committee. Before we talk about pilot, I just want to let you know that this is a bylaw committee. The chair, Patty Fiore, who's the person who sponsored the citizens petition, wants to, his request the select board reduce the size of the committee from 7 to 5 at the special town meeting in the fall. All right, and I can also tell you that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay.
And Kathy, how does she propose to do that? We've got, two citizen seats here.
I don't know,
Who's-
Sam, she
who's-
didn't really say which two, because we just can't get Council on Aging to appoint her, so she wants that one to go away. And probably just, I guess, take off one of the citizens at large.
At large, okay,
Okay,
all right.
all right, okay, and let's see, who did not say yes?
Harul Sharma was very recently
Yeah,
appointed, so
I didn't realize.
I think we should reappoint her.
I do, and Michelle Hawkinson, I know she wants to do it, so I think she just forgot to say yes. Okay, so go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, 1 year.
I don't think this is 1 year. This is the standing committee. It's
Looks
not
like
ad hoc.
everybody's 1 year here, though.
It says 1 year?
Well, all the current ones haven't been appointed for that long. So they go
Yeah,
through.
this.
Yeah, but it's a new committee. Okay, so
This
let's,
committee was created in at earliest 2022.
yep, well, it took a while to get it going, though.
Oh,
There
it's-
was problems with it. So we've only been in existence about a year.
Okay,
Okay,
so.
so it does sound like it's 1 year. So let's just assume it's 1 year. We can always
So
fix it.
I move that the select board reappoint all members of the pilot committee to a term not to exceed June 30, 2025.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? Okay, Rec Commission, we've got Johanna and Jen Hansen is going to be reappointed. He's willing to do it?
Good.
That's great. Because I thought,
Let's work fast.
that's great. Okay, yeah, let's not let her change her mind. Okay, go Andrew.
I move that the select board reappoint to the Recreation Commission Joanna Shiner and Jen Hansen, each for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that was done. The Southborough Cultural Arts Council, there's nothing to do there. It's got a vacancy. Okay, the Southborough Emergency Planning Committee. Nothing to do there. Everybody agree?
Right,
Okay, is that it?
for emergency
Nope,
planning.
nope.
Yep.
We got another one. We got another page. Got 2 more pages. Okay. What's that? Yeah. Did we vote?
I think
for that?
that's what we voted, yeah.
Did we actually vote it?
I think so.
Thought we
Okay.
did.
I don't think we did. I think we were waiting for you. I'm pretty sure we got to vote cable. So it's 3 years, Vanessa? Okay, so let's do cable committee, which is Sam and Will Warren. Andrew,
I move that the board reappoint to the Cable Television Committee Sam Stivers and William Ward, each for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
second. All in favor? Okay,
Abstain.
now we are on Shopsy.
Hold.
All right, so we've got 3 we've held. Okay, the next one is the Public Accessibility Committee, and we've got no one.
William
Yes, we do.
Warren.
Will Warren, sorry. Sorry, Will. Okay, so Andrew,
I move that the select board reappoint to Southborough Public Accessibility Committee William Warren for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
Second?
all in favor? Okay, next one is the Scholarship Advisory Committee. And all I'm gonna say on this, one, we saw the ladies here tonight. Let's see, what's Isabel doing? Yeah, and she's gonna stay. Okay. They have agreed to reduce their committee from 7 to 5. They're fine with that, so we will do that at some point, maybe next meeting. That way they've got a full committee. Okay, so in this case, we've got 3 that we need to reappoint. Andrew,
I move that the board reappoint each of the Maria Romero, Christine Pearson, and Stephanie Butler to the Southborough Scholarship Advisory Committee, each for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
Second?
all in favor? And the next one is the Southborough Stewardship Committee. We've got,
Hold.
okay, so we're gonna hold that one. Southborough Trails Committee. So we've got 1, 2, 3 on that one. That's good. They got a vacancy. Andrew,
Okay, I move that the board reappoint to the Southborough Trails Committee Satyendra Sharma, Thomas Marculier, and Catherine McKee, each for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
Second?
all in favor? Okay, the Taxation Aid Committee, we've got 4 that are up. We haven't heard from one, but we'll go ahead and appoint him.
I move that the select board reappoint each of the existing members of the Taxation Aid Committee for a term not to exceed June 30, 2025.
Second?
All in favor? Okay, Tricentennial Committee, does this reflect the recent? Yeah, Steve Valentine. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, John Kendall's not gonna renew?
Yeah, he's having some health issues.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's too bad. Okay, so Andrew, you want to appoint everybody else?
I move that the select board reappoint myself, Jim Blaskey, Patty Burns Fiore, Ginny Martins, and Don Morris to the Tricentennial Committee, each for a term not to exceed June 30, 2025.
Second?
All in favor? Okay, Youth Commission, we've got 1.
I move that the select board reappoint to the Southborough Youth Commission Susan Byer for a term not to exceed June 30, 2027.
Second?
All in favor? Okay, ZBA, we've got 2. And don't you think Mike Robbins is gonna do this?
I have no reason to believe he's not.
Yeah.
He hasn't mentioned that to me.
Okay, what
And
number are you
I
appointing?
think, no, I think that the alternative, the alternate member, I think is a 1-year term and the rest of them are 5-year terms.
I think so.
Okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So maybe do these one at a time. Do Doug Mance first
Yep.
for a one-year term.
So I move that the board reappoint Doug Mance as the alternate member to the ZBA for a term not to exceed June 30, 2025.
Second?
All in favor?
And I move that the board reappoint Michael Robbins to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term not to exceed June 30, 2029.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, so we held open space, SHOPSI, stewardship, CPC.
Are we gonna dissolve the working group, the St. Mark's Street part of the working group? Is that a big deal?
Yeah,
I thought we already did that.
Yeah, that's, what happened is I don't know why that's there, but it's the term of its charge just expired
Okay.
long ago.
So it's done.
I mean, it should no longer be on the website.
Yeah, and there are several that are dissolved, but you want to keep the paperwork with them somehow. So there's conversation around how you sort of keep the records.
Oh, I see, for
So
like the
people can find
website
it.
purposes,
Yes.
so
Yeah, so
people can
people
look
can
at
find
old
the-
minutes and
Yeah,
stuff.
what happened.
Yeah, you could truly, so I needed to go back to the school research subcommittee that Jason Malinowski and Couture Martin and I wanted to pull some data recently, and I got it, but it was there, but it was kind of hard to get, but it
Yeah.
was there. So there are reasons to keep it.
Right. So I see two categories there, one current committees and one past committees that people can find, but that's a tech problem to organize that and make it happen. So.
All right, so let's change this relevance since Mr. Butler and Matt are patiently waiting. Let's go to the rec item. We'll go back to the reorganization of committees.
Okay.
Come on up.
Vanessa, can I have you? So what we've decided to,
So to you two to lead this discussion.
yeah,
And I'll turn it over to Al.
yeah, I've got the target on my back.
Turn it over to The
It's-
next
it's
person.
the usual, yeah, right there, yeah. And John and Matt are here, we're going to talk about some new concepts, but we're going to give you sort of a summary and where the working group is as of today. So can we move to the next slide? So this is our past activities, really now sneaking up on a year. The working group, which is the chiefs, Mark, Sam, and I, we visited 4 different recs. We've held discussions with Framingham and Marlborough. I've recently learned, as of yesterday, that Framingham has in fact set up a rec, and it is signing an IMA with Natick, which actually makes a lot of sense. And that was their big goal. We've surveyed recs in the greater Boston area regarding financing and staffing. We've surveyed the Mass Police Chiefs regarding participation and satisfaction with recs. We've discussed recs with the 5 fire chiefs at the assessment center, and we've hired a new fire chief with rec experience. And we've been meeting several times a month for the past year. So if we can move to the next slide. So we've come to a number of conclusions. The first one, which I think is unambiguous, is that recs work. They've been operating successfully in the rest of the company for decades. Massachusetts, and in particular, Eastern Massachusetts, is behind the times, for better and worse. Just as an example, 23 communities in the greater Boston area, which is essentially north of Plymouth and east of Worcester, have joined recs in the past 10 years. So there is building momentum there. 68%, when we surveyed the police chiefs, we separated them into those that are part of a recs and those that are not. And those that are not, 68% of them are thinking about joining a rec. So this is something that is going to happen one way or the other. The recs provide deep, redundant, effective public safety response at an affordable price. Everything we've seen suggests that the economics, certainly versus the alternative of having deep coverage in Southborough, is compelling. One of the things that we've become increasingly sensitized to is that recs that geographically align with mutual aid provide substantial opportunity for reducing response times. And response times, particularly on fire and ambulance, are critical to public safety. The cost structures before state subsidies are comparable or better than Southborough's cost structures before adding dispatchers. And much better than Southborough's after adding dispatchers. Scale for the rec does matter. Larger recs do appear to have more compelling economics. The rec economics are particularly appealing for small communities, and Southborough is a small community. Recs operate effectively with daytime staff to population ratios of 1 to 10,000 to 1 to 12,000. That's the ballpark. And Southborough's population is 10,450, which says that if we add a dispatcher, we're down to 1 to 5,000 or in that range. And that is essentially all you need to know about the economics of adding staff here. So can we move to the next one? The objections to recs that are being raised today in Southborough are the same objections that have been raised in other communities across the Commonwealth and probably across the country. And those communities have ultimately joined successful recs. Satisfaction with recs is surprisingly high among police chiefs. The satisfaction, would you do it again? When we polled the police chiefs, 80% said they would join again, 15% answered maybe, and 5% said no. Now that's a sample of 20, but it is hard to find a public service with that level of satisfaction. All 5 of the fire chiefs that we interviewed were strongly in favor of rec participation. This fire service, as we know, fire and ambulance is already regionalized to a very substantial extent. And, so the chiefs have multiple chiefs have told me we're in each other's fire stations on a regular basis. There are a variety of models for managing dark station. Electronic integration between the local station and the rec is an absolute minimum requirement. And there are deeper levels of integration, which we should also consider. The primary value for joining a rec is improved public safety. Economics are nice, but at the end of the day, we're talking about the health and the safety of the residents of our community. From the rec's deeper staff coverage and response, and to its ability to respond to complex or high demand events. Smaller communities, local dispatch operations simply cannot provide this level of safe, effective public safety response. The state subsidies for a rec are very attractive, but it is not the primary reason for joining a rec. Can we move to the next? So our recommendation is that in the near term, we should move to a rec. Primarily because we believe that this is in the town's best interest for public safety. The rec structure offers deeper, safer public safety response. Southborough size means that we can never afford to sufficiently deep, cost-effective coverage on our own. The integration of police, fire, and ambulance into mutual aid operations offers substantial opportunities for improved response times and therefore improved public safety. And participation in rec is also in the town's financial interest. In the near term, state subsidies are worth something in the neighborhood of $3 million to us. In the medium term, which would be sort of 5+ years, we can expect the state to support the capital. Long term, we can expect to get a Quinn bill here, which is, in long term, we need to evaluate this on the basis of our ability to pay for it out of our own pockets. And looks like the rec operating costs are no worse than our costs operating a single dispatch system. And we also believe that we should consider developing a staffing plan for the public safety building that has staff available some portion of the day. This is known sometimes as the hybrid model. About half the communities we surveyed with recs have dark stations, but the hybrid model, partial staffing is certainly something that we think should be available. So can we go to the next slide? So the next step is, which rec do we join? And this is kind of where we get to the interesting part. We had a very lively meeting at noon today, very positive. And there are 2 options that appear to be the most attractive to us. First one is to re-engage with the Metro West Rec, which is Westboro, to see if there's an acceptable arrangement that we can enter into. The other one is to continue to an evaluation that has been recently identified by John and the Municipal Technology Committee to evaluate whether it is possible to set up a virtual rec. And in this rec, dispatchers remain in their individual stations. Local dispatchers are connected through technology into essentially a real-time virtual network. And all of the dispatchers work through a common shared system, which is in the cloud. Right now, that's a challenge, even in our rollover structures. And this structure would provide a local station with 24/7 presence and an integrated access to all of the rec community resources. And, you know, we are working as quickly as possible to see whether this is a possible solution, because I think, you know, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I believe that there are compelling reasons why we need to make a decision. So the question is can we find local partners who understand the concept and are willing to pursue a new approach? And can we find those resources? I've had a conversation with the state 911 leaders, and I'm going to have another one later on this week. We're going to try and get them to come in and talk with us about this. Because obviously, if we can't get the state to buy in, that's a big a drawback. So, and finally, you know, can we do this in a, yes, sir.
You talked you talked to state 911 about the virtual rec.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, you know,
It's new for them. And so.
yeah, it turns out the guy we had been dealing with isn't there anymore. So I eventually found the right guy and who was very helpful and understood the idea. And, you know, he didn't poo it. You know, he brought up a couple of issues, and there are lots of issues to deal with here. And so, you know, then the other question is can we do this in a reasonable time frame? So that's where we are. You know, I think the handwriting that's on the wall is that some form of a rec is something that we should do. That, you know, we simply do not have the scale to effectively operate this on our own. We are going to have, our tax rates are going to be heavily challenged in the next few years. And so we need to look at joining a rec of some form. And these are the two forms that we are currently evaluating. And John and Matt are here to do better justice to the idea of a virtual rec than I can if the board has questions.
Excuse me, Ms. Cook.
Oh, Lisa.
I have had my hand up on Zoom. That's why I came down here since your prior discussion. So I would certainly like to be heard. I mean, I physically had to come down here because I wasn't acknowledged on your prior discussion of appointments.
So I didn't see you. Andrew showed me that you were on there a minute ago, and I texted you and said we are going to go back to what do you want to talk about? The appointments?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we're going to have a whole discussion on the committees that were held after we do this. Do you want to wait for that, or do you want to talk first?
Well, I left dinner to come down here to do this. It would, you know, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt. How long is this discussion going to be, Kathy? I'm not going to sit here another half hour when my hand had already been raised for 20 minutes. I'm not trying to be ornery here, but I think it's disrespectful to the citizens that are watching from home that wanted to take part in a discussion, and especially where it affected me. I would like to be heard.
I'm not sure what affected you, but we're going to,
I was texted out at dinner. I was out to dinner and I got
Okay.
texted.
Lisa, we're going to go ahead and finish this because we've started. And we won't take 30 minutes, I don't think.
It's up to you entirely. Matt and I are flexible. We just talked. However you want to proceed, I can wait. I just couldn't get here early.
That's fine. The discussion we're going to have is going to take a few minutes, and I don't think we should interrupt this to do that. So that's, okay, let's keep going.
So at the meeting that occurred midday, it seemed as though it was best if we'd be available as a resource. If you want us to take you through sort of the context and background of the work we've done, we can. If you just want to ask questions, you can do that. However you would like to proceed. I mean, I have copies for you of what we presented this morning at the meeting this morning with the chiefs and with Sam.
Al. But as you may know, this began because I had suggested some time back that we have the Municipal Technology Committee look into the possibility of accomplishing the goals that Al described, the rec goals, but doing it virtually. And at the time, the chairman, Mr. Dennington, asked if I would be willing to do that with Matt, and we also subsequently involved at his willingness to participate, Yash, who's another member of the technology. So three of us worked on this for a while. And, the very short version is that there are we found there are no technological barriers, no new technology that needs to be developed to accomplish the degree of co-working that would be accomplished in a physical center. The same software that would be used in a physical center and the same upgrades that are needed to the CAD system for a physical center would be needed for a virtual center. So we think that if the town chose and had other towns were willing to work on it, that a virtual center could accomplish the same things that a physical center has, and it has the advantage of several advantages, but one of the bigger ones is that it preserves what we call refuge, or a place in town where people can do child custody exchanges at any time of day. There are kinds of things that go on physically in the police station because it would still be staffed and be operating as a dispatch. So our technological findings are, we found no barriers to accomplishing this. And I guess we would also say that for the last 15 years, this has been 100% the direction of private organizations worldwide. That's why all these office buildings here are empty, because of virtualization of workplace for electronic workers. Dispatchers are electronic workers. Their input is electronic, their output is electronic. So that's the sort of summary. If you have questions or if you'd like us to go through this, I have copies for you. If you'd like us to review it, we can, however you want to proceed.
So Al, I'm going to turn it back over to you, but I just have a question. This is all very interesting. But how do we do this if there's no other takers to join? I mean, we can't be a rec with one, right?
That's true.
So if we don't think that there's any others that are ready to step up just because they haven't thought about it, this is well beyond their thing. I've told you this, Blair Sutherland, who used to work for the state police, I saw him on election day and he said, he was very interested. He said, he said what you said, the technology is really not that hard to do. He said there's only one in the country, he's aware it's done it, which was Arlington, Virginia, which is a really big police department. They had a whole lot of help from the national government. They wanted to see if they could do it. So he was aware of one. He said it was all interesting. He did say the hard part is the actual implementation and the accountability. He said the technology is not your issue there. But you gotta, how do we find someone else that is going to play ball with us?
So the suggestion that we made here was that it be taken to the next step of some more specific plans so that it could be described with a little more flesh on the bones than we've had thus far to a few other parties and see what their reaction is. The main thing is that all towns our size have two problems. They can't afford to have double staffing economically, as Al rightly pointed out. It doesn't make sense for us to have two people there full time. On the other hand, they all have a wariness about dark station situations, and the citizens, that's less so on the part of the leadership, the police chiefs and the fire chiefs, but the citizens regard that as important, and the police report to us that it's used heavily. So all towns our size have that problem. And so the question would be, we would put together a short presentation, or sometimes called an elevator pitch, and go to the communities that are around us and see, and also to the state. Al opened up a dialogue with the state. They didn't say this is crazy. So we would talk with all of them and say, look, if you've been reticent to join a physical rec because you don't want a dark station, then perhaps you want to consider this, joining with us in doing this. And to the state, the additional message can be delivered which is that it can save the state a huge amount of money. I mean, that's why, the real reason the offices are not being rented is because the corporations can save a lot of money by not having physical walls for employees. Now, in this case, the state is the one who could save a lot of money by this plan and put it into other things, into better technology, so that the state could redirect money. Now, does anyone want to join with us? We haven't taken that step. Where we've gotten thus far is to identify that this approach has no technical barriers that we can see, and it is certainly, as we both knew before we started it, it certainly is the direction in all respects for electronic jobs. And even the state 911 director says, I mean, the rest of the country is looking at dispatch from home. The state 911 director, we're not recommending that, but the state 911 director talked about that as something that might be in our technological future. So the notion that they're discounting what the whole rest of the world is doing, which is technological decentralization of this, is not correct. They are looking. So we would need to circulate the idea to other communities, Northborough, Hopkinton. Hopkinton right now is our rollover destination. They would have to be one of the early ones. Ashland, Westboro, and see if they're interested. I mean, they all have the problem, the twin problem that we have, which is the need for more redundancy than you can afford, and the desire to have it in your community. If this looks like something attractive to them, then we would be making some headway. If not, well, then we probably, need to continue to look at doing a physical rec. But what we're saying right now is, because of the irrevocability of the physical rec, which is that the state says, once you do this, you can't go back. Because of that, what we're suggesting is try the technologically correct way, the technologically current way. Socialize that. See if you can get people to go the right way before you go the way that was made a lot of sense 30 years ago. I mean, when I spoke with Mr. Dennington 6 months ago about this, and he correctly said, well, look, the whole rest of the country has gone to this, but they did it 30 years ago, okay? And 30 years ago, bandwidth cost 1,000 to 1,000,000 times more than it costs now. And so no one is doing it. And the dispatch community nationwide is looking at pushing it down closer and closer to the first responders. So we're just saying, before you do something that, the rest of the country stopped doing some 30 years ago, or 15 to 30 years ago, pursue this, because this feels like technically the correct way. It will require leadership. It's not going to happen if no one wants it. But there's advantages to all the players, to the towns and to the state. That's what, so we asked us to look into it. What we found is that it's feasible. It's not proven yet in terms of the people ready to sign up for it. We don't know, but we're suggesting to see if you can get to the next step.
And John, I'd reinforce that Matt and Yash have looked at the underlying technology that public safety uses for this dispatch function and coordination of responses and resources. And that underlying technology is actually moving into the cloud and has systems that they believe will actually support this function very naturally. So we don't have to go out and invent new stuff necessarily. We've got to hook pieces together in some new ways maybe, but we're not sort of building brand new technology that nobody's ever done before, which is comforting.
So it seems to me that it would be helpful to get the state truly on board and not just give us lip service. It's just hard to imagine Little Southborough kind of leading the way here. I mean, I wish we could, but boy. So it's all very interesting. I know Chief Newell, he's still here. One, he's got, he's for the rec, but he's got two issues, which is he's worried about the dark station and he's worried about the jobs of our local dispatchers. And this seems that this would solve probably both of them, at least part of one.
It's only the beginning of a road. We have only gotten it far enough to find that, and I didn't know that there aren't any technical barriers. There's nothing, we don't have to write a line of software. Thank goodness. Wouldn't be here if you did.
And you know, you're right about the empty buildings, but it's not just because employers have decided they can cut the space. Employees want to work at home too. So it's a two-way street here.
Proposing that.
So,
because-
good.
So I would say, if you said to us, look at the technical issues associated with work at home for 911 dispatch, my focus, and I imagine Matt's as well, we never talked about it, would be entirely different. The security issues that arise in that case are totally different. And we didn't look at those at all because we already have secure environments. So that didn't come up. We haven't looked at work at home, although the rest of the country, people are tackling that. All we looked at is could 4 towns in a virtual rec, or you can think of it as mutual aid for electronic dispatch, okay? Could 4 of them be sufficiently united that that their ability to work together would not be different than if they were sitting side by side here? And the answer to that appears to be yes, without any new technology. That's where we are. And we've said, we need to make a more detailed plan, or talk to people about it, see if anyone else wants to join with us in this concept. That's where we're.
And timing on that is days to weeks, not spend a lot of time. There's a tight timeline here and we need to keep moving on it.
So timeline of days to weeks to determine whether or not there's other
Yeah.
communities that are
Yeah,
interested in it?
to put together a pitch to talk to people with, say,
I
does
think
this
the
sound
pitch could be
worthwhile?
put together very quickly. I don't know how quickly we'd maybe, I wouldn't promise days.
Well, for
Yeah.
a pitch,
Yeah.
but
that we
then,
can-
but then to go out and talk to
that
people,
we
it
can
takes a little
do it.
longer to
I
line
don't
people up.
get any answers that fast. It's just-
I think there are, so I think there's some gates and there's some critical dates that we also have to kind of deal with. And, the first gate is, can we get, are the Hopkintons and the Ashlands and the Northboroughs and Westboro even remotely interested in this idea and engaging with us?
So we're just first with Westboro, because they're part of Metro West Rec.
Yep.
Right.
Why would they do
Well,
this?
they have not made a lot of progress and
Okay,
this might be an interesting concept for them as well. But,
because
we,
they don't have a building or an
They've
executive
not spent a lot
director.
of
Well,
money.
they think they've got the building.
Okay.
they've made some progress, but I think we need to go out and find out whether our mutual aid partners are even remotely interested in this idea. If they're not remotely interested in this idea, it's kind of, all right,
Then
No.
that's the answer.
that is an answer. And we need to do that in the next month.
Is Grafton still interested? Are they still part of the rec
They're
with?
part of
Yes.
Westboro,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
you
so then
get
the
Westboro, you
second-
get
this-
Grafton.
The second piece of sort of scheduling is, were we to join the Metro West Rec, we probably need to have a signed IMA mid-fall, because that's when they would be going for their next round of funding, which would be the substantial funding to build out the traditional infrastructure. And so they would like, I think, to have commitments. And I know that there are other communities that are currently thinking seriously about joining the Metro West Rec as well. So, we need, and the third piece is engaging the state, because to do this without the support of the state, I think is a truly bad idea. But, I don't know whether, we got to turn that stone over and see what we find. And we need to, we're going to be marching to a fairly quick timeline here. Because the other piece of that is that if we decide we want to go with a traditional rec, we have, we made a commitment to review this decision with town meeting likely in the fall. And in order, we need to do regardless of which way we go, we need to do if we're going to do the Metro West, we need to do a community education program where we reach out and to a variety of groups to explain why we think this is the way we should go. So, the
what's the
old saying,
downside?
it's a
I mean-
curse to living in an interesting times. And
I don't know what you think, but this is very appealing to me to at least pursue it. granted quickly, because if we're going to be part of the Westboro Grafton Rec, their grants due in March, but they've got to get it, they've got to get it done by January to have it truly ready. And so we'd have to be ready by fall town meeting if we really are going to go that path. So, we're talking 3 months. But I still think this is very intriguing. And I'd like to at least go to the next step and see if we can get the state truly interested, so they would, help us, and then see if we can't get some of our neighbors to look at it with us.
So, well, maybe then the way you presented, the first point is just to hear from the state before reaching out to other people, because if the state, for whatever reason, believes that it's not supportable, feasible, fundable, then that leads us down a certain path, right? And if they say yes, then that leads us down another.
I'm trying to get, so I'm going to be on the phone tomorrow. And-
So I would say, by the way, that so when we walked into the station, when we started this, back in April, one thing that surprised me was the one person. I just thought immediately, that's wrong. One person can't be the right number, because the possibility of them getting overwhelmed exists. But there is significant, I would say in a plan, what we recommended here is that make a plan. A plan should recognize and try to realize quick, short-term gains from this kind of program, while having aspirations for an ideal world of a full virtual rec with 4 or 5 communities. But it's not a requirement that you do that to begin getting benefits from this, because from our viewpoint, if we been moved in that direction, we should set a goal of, let's say Hopkinton says, great, we couldn't sell the rec idea last year, we got moved out of town. Let's try to beef this up with you guys. Our ability to handle incoming calls by virtualization. We should immediately begin the steps to strengthen the current existing. Right now, we don't answer the phone and dispatch, it rolls to Hopkins, but it's not trained for extensively. It's not regarded as a successful handling of the call if you let it roll to Hopkinton. The teamwork that needs to be trained into the situation is one in which it's a collaborative effort. They're working as a team, not separate places. We should set a goal of beginning to get benefits from this stepwise, within 6 months, because there's no barrier to doing that, and then you can add other communities. That's what a plan would look like, and it would eventually we would want to establish a full virtual rec with 4 or 5 communities that are sharing this. But that shouldn't be we shouldn't make that perfect a barrier to realizing benefits in the much closer, because we could begin to get them right away with top, right away. If they merely say, yeah, let's work together to make this better, we will begin immediately, almost immediately, to have a more credible redundancy than we have today. If we began to think in these terms, and any plan should have near-term benefits faster than the Westboro rec is open to us as a result, because there are no barriers technologically beginning to gain those things almost immediately.
Matt, anything you want to add to?
Nothing to add. No, it's been a good summary, and appreciate John's partnership in this. It's been really good.
This is great. So does anyone have a reason not to at least take this to the next step? Let Al talk to the state a week from Friday or this Friday?
I talked to the state on Monday, and this is happening quickly. I'm going to be calling them tomorrow to see if we can. To see if we can set up a meeting sooner rather than later to see, gauge their reaction.
The Hopkinton select board chairs, I expect him to call me tomorrow to talk about come on, John, be optimistic. No, I actually believe, no. Okay, see, there you go. So I actually expect him to call tomorrow. I really do think he will. And so I can add this to my, list, water rec. And at least hook you up, with him, all right? As far as then let him tell you who he wants you to
I
talk
think
to.
these
there.
guys know who to talk to as well.
Yeah.
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 Just
so,
let the phone roll.
Yeah.
No, I just think it's worth at least going to the next step.
I think it's important that also we just keep the chiefs involved as part of this
Absolutely.
process, so that,
We met
but
with
that's,
them.
okay, all right.
Yeah, okay, all right. Anything else? There's nothing to vote on. We just need to, we've agreed we're
I'm
gonna,
just gonna hand you copies of the presentation we gave this morning. If you have what, I started and get time to staple it.
Yeah.
But if you have questions, you know where to reach me.
Okay,
do suggest you flip through it, because if you read it over,
okay,
Oh.
okay.
thanks, there's just sort of things. Careful with the stack.
so chiefs, anything you guys want to add to this discussion at this point? We're not making a decision tonight. We're just saying we're open-minded here.
Actually, could you use the mic? Sorry.
No.
For me personally, I would want to wait to see kind of how this flushes out, because obviously we're dealing with personnel that we've been, from our department. And I want to give that avenue every opportunity to make sure that's going to be looked at. It kind of concerned that we'd be the first in the state. I mean, I think we do have to focus on that. We'd have to have partners in this. But something that, can be pitched and we get people to sign on that, then that's important. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the state's looking to consolidate the PSAPs. So if PSAPs remain at each department, I don't know if this is something that they're gonna automatically support. Usually they're giving those, the recs more attention because of consolidating of PSAPs in one place. But that's pretty much it for me right now on the record.
I agree with everything Chief Newell said. I think just want to make sure I stress that the power of a rec with our neighboring communities. So if we don't have neighboring communities that are on board with whatever plan we move forward with, I think we'd have to turn and pivot and reconsider. One also thing to note is, I understand the technologies are currently available and they're already out there. The implementation is not overnight, no matter what version you would do. If you talk to any executive director, I would say they would say 6 months plus to build out a brand new computer dispatch system.
Yeah, we agree. But the thing is, that it's the same software you need for a rec. You just have to go to it. You don't have a choice. You can't stay with the CAD system that now sitting in servers in the police station. We have to change that. It's gonna be worth no matter which way.
I guess one thing that's not, is a benefit, I think, is not in the virtual rec option, but, it's just a policy decision is, like, the ideal rec, some of the models we've looked at, there's an executive director, and I know that adds cost, right? But, the word you use is accountability, right?
I assume that's what he's
So that if
referring to. There's no
if there's an
boss.
incident where the communication between the two participating municipalities doesn't go well, right? Then there's one coordinated way of reviewing how we make it better, right? Whereas in this model, there's not. Each of the dispatchers in the participating municipality, their supervisor are their individual municipal.
Huh.
I'll go to a mic, John. John, could you go to a mic here so people can hear?
In this morning's meeting with the chiefs, with Al and Sam, which went about as far as I took the conversation here a minute ago, Al suggested, and we agreed that, you know, that the eventual play out of this is that you want a regional executive structure, even though it's their employees are in multiple locations. And that is what happens in corporate world. You know, that's distributed work product. And so Al suggests, you know, you should have an IMA, you should have the communities participate, you should have an executive director. And the only thing I said in response to Al this morning was, I agree with that, but we should and we can get very quick benefits before we get to that stage. We shouldn't let that stage, which should be in the plan as the destination, as we were talking about this morning, we shouldn't let that get in the way of improving our ability to use redundancy quickly. And so but agree with you completely, that's the right way to go. That's what we should sketch to the state, is that kind of model. That's what we want to get. So.
And, you know, also part of it, you know, kind of, I mean, I think I said I was the person who, in response to the question you posed at the town meeting, said, here's what we want to do. We want to bring a specific proposal to town meeting. And obviously that date is a little bit artificial and that there's no reason why we have to do it but it's just, the reason why I think it's still important to keep this going is, okay, we kind of crossed one bridge at the last time meeting where we've seen this coming. We started to add staff, right? And we want to, there's still benefit in just making a decision on this, because we are just keeping to this talk about it and talk about it.
One person in there, that's not enough. You know, I mean, there's risk.
Yeah. So, and there's also another thing that I'm now convinced of is that of all the different options we talk about, none of them is going to be completely perfect. Each one is going to have its own kind of risks, even just of the, you know, in order to apply in order for a rec to apply for grants, you got to sign the irrevocable IMA. Although last time we did it, it had that, you know, 2-month opt-out provision too. I mean, there's some risk in that approach too, but you have to get a little bit comfortable with knowing that there's some uncertainty about whatever, you know, course. But I mean, one thing which has been frustrating is that some of the people who have just been kind of seem to be just against whatever we want to do is there's the, you know, the acronym someone used, the FUD, you know, fear, uncertainty, doubt, to just try to, I mean, I think we have to get comfortable with the idea that there's some uncertainty, the approach you're talking about, which I see, right?
Why?
And then even with the, you know, there's some uncertainty, I think, with the traditional rec model that you are not as comfortable with.
No, I would say I could get comfortable.
Mike, John?
Yeah.
I could get comfortable with the physical rec, but my observation is troubled about it just because I think the rest of the world isn't all wrong. And
Because-
so, you
And
know,
that's about the dark station issue.
well,
No, he's just saying you don't
Oh,
need
we
a physical place to do this. You can
Virtual connection.
fundamentally,
save the money.
centralizing electronic job resources hasn't been going on for 15 years in this economy. And so if I see something moving backwards technologically, I always think that, you know, somehow this isn't going to be the best idea in the end. And and in particular, if I'm the state, I can't imagine why I'm spending lots of money on creating physical structures to house electronic jobs when no one else is doing that. Now, if it had been the case that, oh, we had to build a whole pile of software to do this, then I would be saying, look, it's not there, forget about it. But we found that there's only the same task we have to do if we went to a physical rec. I mean, I can almost say, you know, if you're on IPv6, you just change the address. I mean, you know, and what that means is basically, you know, if the desks are next to one another, their desks are sitting around in 5 towns, it's just an address change in an IP stack. You know, it doesn't matter.
All right, let Marguerite have a chance here.
I had one question. It seems to me that with all of the people who are working in a rec, there's a teamwork function. And if everyone's in their own bedroom in their slippers, it's not going to work the same way.
Well, we're not going to go that far yet.
Well, so, yeah, we're not talking about anybody's being at home. We're not talking about anybody working at home in their slippers, but you're absolutely correct that what you'd see as an emphasis in this document, when you get a chance to look at it, is that training is something that is the primary missing ingredient right now. The technology is there, it could be deployed, but they have to train together. They have to believe they're part of a team. They have to constantly be seeing all the other dispatchers and the other 1, 2, 3, 4 towns on the screen. They have to see them as their coworkers on a 24/7 when they're in the dispatch room. Because you're absolutely right. They need to feel like they're part of a team and know that they are, and they're linked together constantly electronically. So you're absolutely right on point.
So one of the things that would potentially be done in this scenario is that whether the dispatchers work for us or work for this, an independent rec, might make sense to have dispatchers from Southborough dispatch out of Hopkinton, a couple times a month, or we would rotate dispatchers through each other's houses, just like we do with our fire department, where you need to be in everybody else's house so you know all of the players, vice versa. So, but there's a lot here, and we're gonna keep the board appraised as we move down this, because we do need to move expeditiously to figure out whether this is a viable approach.
Okay, so I don't think anyone on this board is saying no to this tonight.
Chief.
Go ahead, Chief, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, one thing. I think you made a great point about the teamwork. We think about call surge, maybe a winter storm or a wind event or brush fire season, you name it. There could be a multitude of different things. Having that supervisor in a room and having that teamwork, that offline communication is key to a successful system. The only other thing I wanted to comment on was the current having one person in a room and our requirement to perform EMD, emergency medical dispatch. It's something that we're required to provide by law, and to provide it effectively, it requires at least 2 people. And it's the routine calls. It's somebody unresponsive, somebody difficulty breathing. Those are the routine calls that we get every single day that the 911 communicators have maybe one of the most important jobs of providing pre-arrival instructions while still being able to dispatch emergency response units. And it can't be done effectively with just one person.
Okay. All right, so I think that's all we can do for tonight, right? So thank you both for coming. We will absolutely listen to everything you guys say, and we're going to make a good collective decision here. So let's just stay open-minded. And as always, thank you too. Okay, so continue.
Thank you.
All right, so the last item on the agenda is to talk about possibly reorganizing committees and discussion of maybe reduction in size of a couple of them. We didn't talk about appointments to 4 separate committees before, so let me make sure I've got them right. Open space, stewardship, CHOPSI, and CPC,
Yep.
right? Okay, so Al, I'm going to put you on the spot because you held them. So let's start talking about what you want to talk about as far as those go. And then everybody will have their turn to what you.
So I think, I have a particular vision of, what I expect when I got elected and what I expect of this board. And is that the voters elected us to set the policy direction for the town and to make the policy directions for the town. And there are a variety of reasons why, I held each of these. So, and I think in some cases, before we go and reappoint people, or if we appoint people, I think that when we appoint people, boards and commissions, we are appointing people to help us implement the policies, directions that the voters elected us to set as the town's chief executive. And I think there are a few cases where we need to have understandings with some of the committees about what they're doing and whether they are and whether they are operating in the directions that we want. So, I mean, I'll tell you, why I held the Community Preservation Commission. And I have two issues. The first issue, and again, I think what we need to do is have that committee come in and sit down and talk with us about their goals and their performance and see if we are properly aligned. So
Let me just interrupt. We're not going to make any decisions on these that we've got issues with. We're going to talk about them and we're going to invite the ones that we want to talk to our next meeting. So there's going to be no vote tonight on these.
Yeah, that is the principal thing. I mean, for the Community Preservation Commission, I met with the town accountant and I have some substantial concerns about the timeliness of our closing out projects. And I'd like to understand why it appears to take so long. We have tens of thousands of dollars as best that Carla and I can review. And she gave me a detailed list. She has the data, but we need to close those projects out and then return, any unexpended balances back to their proper buckets. And so I think that is one of the things that we need to one conversation we need. And I want to make sure, I think the committee is not necessarily aligned with this board when it comes to affordable housing. We have made that a priority, and I think we need to be on the same page. And I think this board needs to be clear about the page that we want to be on so that we are operating in harmony. So that's why I held the CPC.
Okay, so who's there to
Excuse
be
me,
appointed?
Kathy, can I address that?
Yes, let me just check one thing, Lisa. So we've got okay, so now I know what you're talking about. Okay, so Lisa, Kristen Levon, and Ben Smith are up for reappointment. Okay. Is that it, Al, as far as CPC?
Yes, and I want to make sure that the individuals that we appoint
Yep.
are are willing to take the sort of direction that we want to provide, because quite frankly, that's what the voters elected us to do.
All right, so I agree with you on the first point that there has not been the closeout of projects like they should have been. There's been discussions and meetings had. However, we did get an email from Ben Smith recently saying that they are making progress. I think there's about $80,000 that they expect to come back to the buckets once they get closed out. So I think that the message has been sent on that. We're about to get the report from the state that when they reviewed our financial stuff, and I am quite sure they're going to point that out as far as that not happening. Because it's important. It puts money back in the bucket, you can use it. So I agree with the first part of it. So we will invite CPC to our June 18th meeting to discuss your concerns. Okay. All right. Okay, Lisa.
All right, thank you. So again, it would have been nice if I could have been heard earlier. Fine.
I
I've already
agree, and
said
I
that.
really did not
I-
see you there. Andrew literally wrote me a note and said you were in the audience, so I didn't know you were there until he told me. Then we'd already moved
Okay.
on.
Thank you. So one point I'd like to make, Mr. Hamilton, of course, in a democracy, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And I didn't realize that the 5 of you sitting here on this board are the gods of who sits on committees and boards in this town. And if we choose not to serve on your agenda, then you have no need for us to volunteer. I have served this town for 19 years. I sat at that table for 6 years and never, ever did I not appoint somebody or even consider not appointing somebody because they didn't want to follow the agenda. In a democracy, every voice has a right to be heard, and mine is. And if mine is different from yours, that's great. That creates a discussion. It creates collaboration, and it creates an opportunity to serve all of the taxpayers of this town. Yes, you sit at that chair because the taxpayers elected you. I sit on planning board because the taxpayers elected me. I'm an elected official designated by the planning board to sit on the CPC. And you're telling me that because I may or may not, and again, we haven't even had that discussion. If you view that I don't follow the line that you want me to follow, that as a designee from the planning board, I can't sit, I think we have a big problem in this town. We can't fill the vacancies we have now. And for volunteers to hear from this board, members of this board, that if they don't follow the line that you choose us to go down and follow your agenda, then we don't have a right to serve. That's wrong. I'm a taxpayer in this town and I have a right to volunteer. I've done it for 19 years and I'm not going to stop now. And I will guarantee you, if this appointment doesn't go through, this will not be the end of it. I am absolutely disgusted with what I'm hearing tonight. This is not what Southborough should be about. This is not how we should act as neighbors and citizens of each other. We can have differences of opinion. That's totally fine. That's how it's supposed to be. That's democracy. That's what our veterans have fought for over the years, is to allow everyone to have a right. So again, I'll leave it at that. I'm utterly disgusted that my appointment after 19 years is being held up. So now, until you decide to do something, you know, CPC can't even meet if they wanted to after June 30th. So I would encourage you and anybody listening to make sure that if you volunteer, know that if you're not on the agenda of members of the board, don't waste your time. Thank you.
So Lisa, we intend to do this on June 18th, so it will be dealt with before June 30th.
I get it, Kathy. I mean, I was out to dinner. I get texts from
I get
people.
it.
I'm not being reappointed.
You know, we know what you do for this town. So let me just ask you a theoretical. If you have a person on a committee who appears to intentionally want to, just to say, doesn't like someone on the select board, so throw that out there, and intentionally tries to undermine what the select board does over and over and over, you don't have an issue with that? So that's a theoretical.
Theoretically, the first thing I would do if I was sitting up there is I would have a conversation with the person.
And that's what
find out
that's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to flesh this out and have those conversations.
But,
And
and I appreciate you saying that, Kathy, but that's not what I heard from Mr. Hamilton. Not at all. So I appreciate what you're saying, and I take comfort in that, in knowing that all the years of some of the volunteers on some of these committees, you know, wasn't for nothing, basically. So if I'm coming across as frustrated, I am extremely
oh,
frustrated.
you're coming across as frustrated.
I hope.
And you know that what you've done with this town is much appreciated. So you know that that work is recognized, and that's not what the purpose of doing this is at all. So, but thank you for coming. And again, I'm sorry, I really did not see your hand raised when we were doing that. Okay, Dorian, Joe? No? Okay. Is there a hand raised on this one, Vanessa, still? Okay. All right, so,
Two hands.
all right, so bring them both over. So bring both Grant and Kristen over.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Grant first.
Hi, Grant Farrington, 58 Flag Road. Yeah, I just want to say I share many of Lisa's sentiments. I think it's pretty disturbing what I'm hearing tonight. I also just want to note that, you know, I think it's kind of ironic that this, you know, the comments from Mr. Hamilton are from a member of the select board who has openly stated that he wants to get rid of the CPA in town. And I don't believe that's the position of the select board. I hope it's not. But, you know, I hope that's a minority view, and that that his recommendations don't go much further. You know, I think the CPC provides a lot of value to this town, and I believe the select board recognizes that. And I know there's been talk about increasing to 3%. So, you know, I would, I believe Mr. Hamilton holds a minority view on that, and I hope you would recognize it. Thanks.
Thank you. Kristen?
I would also like to hear the select board's reactions to Mr. Hamilton's position after this. Just to add to what Grant and Lisa said, is Kristen Laval, 12 Southwood Drive, a member of CPC and Recreation. I am the elected member to CPC from Recreation. So the fact that you're challenging this, but you really don't challenge other people. So I'm going to just call it is. Kathy, you asked a hypothetical that is someone just making this personal because someone doesn't like someone on a board. And I can assure you, because I feel like that could be me when I look around at my other committee members, I've been volunteering here just about as long as I've lived here. Anyone who knows me or anyone who knows anyone on this current committee knows we do not do anything because of our personal agenda. I can't stake the same for you anymore. We do things right and what we think is right on behalf of the town. Mr. Hamilton, if we deferred to your agenda last fall, you would have gotten rid of 21 Highland Street with little to no people knowing it. I'm sure of that. Or you were at least pursuing options. It's very unclear. But that to me proved we need this checks and balances. So in addition to everything that everyone said, I find it extremely offensive as a volunteer that you would suggest that. And this highlights why people are really hesitant to volunteer in this town. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to reply to anything? I would suggest that we don't reply to this until the 18th. We've got some time to think about it. I see no reason to defend.
Well, I just briefly, you know, the alternative to, I think there's a lot of truth in what Mr. Hamilton said, and I think that we should not be just rubber stamping all appointments. All right. So I think that the idea that we have a discussion about, and I do think there's a difference here between CPC, which is kind of a creature of statute and has the 3 different buckets and has a very vital role in town meeting. I think there's a little bit of a difference between CPC and the committees that are purely appointed by the select board. Because I think what Mr. Hamilton is doing is we should be doing our job. And I think just kind of, you know, rubber stamping appointments without asking some further questions. If, you know, this is also an opportunity to just, you know, there's some people where we haven't really had this conversation in a long time, right? What do you see as really the function, the priorities of this committee? I think that's a healthy question to ask before reappointing people.
May I say something to that, Kathy?
Yes.
Just Andrew, I appreciate your honesty in that. How many boards and committee members did you appoint tonight that got rubber stamped? Well, I don't know how many were on the list. So again, it seems very selective in what was held. That's all. That's the point I'm going to make, is a lot were put through as I was listening on my way here. Thank you.
Lisa, let me, I mean, you sat here, you know how this all works. So the reason that these 4 were held is different. It's not all the same with the 4. You said at the goal setting meeting 2 years ago where the consultant said to us, we've got too many committees here. Okay, so, and I told you, why don't we talk about combining open space and stewardship? We will absolutely talk to Freddie. We will talk to everybody on the committee. We will get their opinion. We won't do it without their input. But I want them to be open-minded too. Look at the 2, they've got barely a quorum on each one of those, right? So I don't see what's wrong with that discussion. I think it's a healthy discussion. Do they have enough commonality that it makes sense to end up with one committee with 5 separate people on it? One of those committees has problems with minutes. So we're supposed to ignore that. So these are not made up issues. So that's that. CPC is different. And then SHOPSI, we know that we are not doing a good job as far as affordable housing. We think we need a different structure. You even said that.
Yes.
You looked at Westboro and said it looks good. So that one, we need to do something to try to get some affordable housing here and actually get some projects done. So we think reorganizing that program into something that is more effective that other towns do would be at least something we should discuss. So that's going to be a goal that we're going to set, I'm pretty sure, on June 10th, is to truly look at that and see what better way we can do to use the little money that we have, try to leverage it and really get something done here besides 40 Bs.
And I appreciate that, Kathy, but I think that the problem is people were getting texts. I received texts while I was out at dinner. I think had the board made clear what their intention was at the beginning, you know, when these were held, you know, as it is, everybody that you held thinks at this point, this board is not reappointing them. And that's a problem. That's not what you said here tonight, Kathy.
I didn't know that we were going to hold those committees. So that I didn't go to, that's why I put the one right next to it, talk about reorganization. So I didn't know we were going to hold committees, but we did, right? So it wasn't pre-planned. Mr. Hamilton has a right to do that, and that's what he did. So there was no, nefarious, and we're going to hold all these committees. We did not plan that going into this. I thought we might hold a couple of people so we could discuss them with them in person on June 18th, give them a chance to talk to them. So if we've got an issue, we can talk about it. So that's what we're trying to to do is discuss this. And give people a chance to basically respond to any issues that we have, hear their side of it. So I didn't know we were going to end up holding committees, but that's what Mr. Hamilton wanted, and we agreed. But we're going, on June 18th, we're going to talk to hopefully all 4 of these committees and have a good two-way dialogue, hopefully better than what we've had tonight. So we really can talk and see if we can end up in a better place on both sides of it.
No, and I agree. I just think communication could have been better. That's all, on both sides.
And again, I'm going to tell you again, I didn't see you in the audience until Andrew basically passed me a note and said, Lisa's
I
in the audience.
appreciate that.
And we'd already moved on to the rec at that point.
I appreciate
Okay,
it.
all right. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience right now, Vanessa? Again? It's a new hand? Okay, but it's new? Okay, let's go on to the next committee then we can.
I just have 3 requests of the board. I don't have further comment, but based on your comments, Kathy, I have 3 requests of the board for the June 18th meeting. The first is exactly what Lisa talked about, and that's how many people you just, rubber stamped tonight, because it seemed like quite a few. Second, you mentioned that you thought it would be healthy to re-meet with people and understand where their position is and what this committee is for. So out of those reappointees, I'd like to know how many of them do you actually know personally, and how many of them do you plan on meeting with, to show us that this isn't a personalized attack on people who quite frankly disagree with you on things. And then lastly, on as far as minutes go, you made some comments about minutes being late. If you're evaluating hours, have you done the same for every commission and committee? Because I'm going to guess that we actually look pretty good. So I don't even know if you were talking about our committee, but if you're going to apply this type of logic, you need to do it across all boards and committees. You're not being independent.
Kristen, stop talking for a minute.
No, Kathy, I'm allowed to speak to Kathy.
We get the information for the minutes from the town clerk. It's not us looking at them. He sends an email to us, and it's not CPC. Nor did I say
okay, that's fine. But I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, you should be calling out every committee that you rubber checked tonight or whatever, rubber stamped. Did you look at their minutes as well? No, you didn't.
Kristen. Okay, we're moving on. Okay, so we've talked about CPC. So Al, next, Shopsy.
All right. Excuse me. The reason I held Shopsy is because this board wants to pursue the consolidation of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and Shopsy. And, we haven't had any discussions. I know that Shopsy is meeting on Thursday night to broach this subject. And, but I think, before we reappoint someone, I think we ought to have a clear direction on what our path is. And certainly, I think we ought to have some clarity on our path before the end of the month.
So didn't we not appoint Andrew and Al to work on this?
Yes.
Am I wrong? Okay, so you think you'll be ready by the end of the month to have a recommendation as to what to do?
No.
Okay. All right.
I think this is an issue that kind of probably.
It's going to take some discussion, right? And we want to look at, and we don't think we need to recreate the wheel here. We think we got some good models in Lexington and Westboro. Okay, so yeah, I don't have a problem with reappointing whoever's up, and who is it? Dorian. And John Wood's not going to be reappointed. He doesn't want to. So I'm okay doing it just temporarily, knowing that this is going to change, that we are convinced that we don't have the right structure. Others have agreed with us, so that we need some time to put together, but at least, keep the committee going for a moment. But we'll talk about it on the 18th. So that's your reason for that one. All right, let's go on to.
All right.
The next two, I think, are kind of related: open space and stewardship.
Yeah. So open space. I think we need to have a conversation with open space about the span of their authority. We've had a number of instances where open space has, on their own letterhead, I think, acted outside of their statutory authority. I know we have minutes issues, and I know that we have an absence of appointments to the CPAC that has been open for some period of time. And so, I think we need to, and I think I think this board needs to make some policy directions about the importance of open space versus other priorities that exist in the town. In particular, affordable housing is one. So I think, again, this is a place, you know, I've said this sometime, and we're going to say it on the 10th, that I believe that this body should be meeting with all of the boards and committees that we appoint on an annual basis to make sure that we are in fact all rowing in the same road. And I do believe that this board has the responsibility to set policy direction. That is what the voters said to us. And frankly, now I have a parliamentary view of participation in town committees, which is that if you can't support the positions of the elected board, the honorable thing, in my opinion, is to resign and go. I beg
No,
your
that's
pardon.
inappropriate. Keep
No,
going.
And just to be clear, I have resigned from committees that I thought were going in the wrong directions because I couldn't support that action. And that is an honorable course of action. And so I'm concerned that, you know, if we're not rowing in the same direction and we have committees that are working against the policy or working in a direction not in sync with the policy goals of the elected executive, then we have a challenge to deal with.
Okay. So that's.
So that's open space.
Stewardship?
Stewardship is really the same thing. You know, this board made a major policy directive to support the 40B at 120. And I believe that the Stewardship Committee was active in its opposition. Now, if they wanted to oppose us, I think the honorable thing would have been to make an appointment to come before us and explain why they were in opposition. I think, you know, organizing an opposition, that troubles me. You know, I mean, it means, you know, that we're nothing more than, you know, a rubber stamp, and I'm not going to rubber stamp things. I was elected on a platform. I told the voters what I wanted to do, and I intend to try and do those things. And
So that one I'm going to take a little bit issue with. Stewardship's job is to take care of the Breakneck Hill Conservation Land. That's their sole purpose to exist, right? So the fact that their issues were issues related to their purpose, they have the adjacent land that is under their care and purview. I'm okay with issues that they raise because that's what they're supposed to do. Open space is supposed to raise open space issues. That is their, you know, they are monolithic. Stewardship is monolithic. We are not. Planning board's not, others are not, advisory's not, but those two certainly are. So I was okay with everything they did. Obviously, we disagreed with the conclusion they reached, but they brought up things that they should bring up, things that truly they thought were going to affect that land. So that one doesn't bother me at all. All I'm saying is it looks to me like there's a lot of commonality between those two. And if we're really trying to get these committees filled, why not have discussion of putting those two together, getting 5 separate people instead of, I think you got maybe 4 distinct people right now, get 5 in there and see if they can't work a little bit more effectively than they do now. But listen to them. I'm not voting for them unless if they don't say to us, oh, we kind of agree, we think the pros outweigh the cons, then I'm not going to vote for it. So it's just a thought, again, in line with what our consultant said 2 years ago, who said, you guys for this size of town have way too many committees, and the number of vacancies on here proves that out, I think, year after year after year. So anyway, Marguerite.
Al, all due respect, I think that we're elected, but I think that each area appointed or whatever has its own thing of value to bring to the table. I think what we need to have the committee discussion about is that, in my opinion, it's become about opposing personalities, and that people are feeling slighted, or people are feeling that what they're trying to contribute isn't being understood. And I think that's wasting a lot of everybody's energy, time, and courage to participate. So that's why I think it'd be good if we could just work in some method to talk about what everybody wants, as opposed to feeling that we're all under assault from somebody else. That's why I would make a case that it would be good to have meetings where different people came in and talked to the select board and with the planning board. And one of the things that I found discouraging was I went to a CPC meeting and there was a comment, I think from Ben, that it was hard to get a series of projects lined up where they were kind of thinking about what might come up in the next 5 years, as opposed to having something pop up all of a sudden. Because it was difficult to say, oh, okay, we've got this in front of us, now we'll vote for that. And so the conversation then was maybe CPC could talk to what select board thought would be good, what planning board thought would be good, what other people would, and just sort of schmooze around, nobody telling anybody what to do, but just saying, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And when I last spoke to Ben, that was a good idea. And then all of a sudden it was like, nope, not going to do that. So nobody's going to tell us what to do. So it's kind of, I regret that it has reached the point where people are feeling so under siege when we're all trying to get to the same place. That's all. And I think the solution to that would be if different boards and committees could sit down in various combinations and just talk to each other once or twice a year.
We have an opportunity to do that Thursday with CPC and the forum they're having about projects.
Thank you, Sam. I was just going to say that.
And I agree with Kathy that I think more dialogue in advance of some of these things would be helpful to avoid people feeling like they've been ambushed or whatever. So, but I look forward to the conversation on the 18th.
Andrew?
I don't have
Anything
anything
to add?
further to add.
Does anyone want to change their mind as far as appointing any of the ones that are up for appointment in the 4 committees we've held? Or you want to stick with our plan for the 18th?
Stay with what we have, I think.
All right, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay with that? All right. Okay,
I move that we adjourn.
we got to do public comment.
Oh, we have public comment, actually.
Okay, so any public comment for any issue that we have not talked about tonight that is not on the agenda? Dorianne? No? Okay. Okay. All right, no one in the audience?
Kristen has her hand up still.
Okay. Kristen, you can come over and talk about anything that we haven't talked about, but this is public comment.
Yep, it's just another request for the meeting of the 18th to the select board to Mr. Hamilton specifically. I don't expect you to address this tonight because it's in preparation for the 18th. You made a comment that basically, if I were to interpret it, you're of one party, you have a certain mindset on something that the agenda should be, and there's people out there who disagree with you. And if they do, then because they're not in alignment, you have the right to then say, well, maybe we shouldn't elect them. If you put that in the context of our democracy, bringing it back to what Lisa was speaking about earlier, that's insane. I'm just going to say it. Like that comment, I need you to explain it to me further, how that's different than having different parties in our country and allowing that maybe one party gets elected. And you guys have made it clear you're united when you collaborated to support one selectman in election day. And I think that's the first time that's been done. So fine, you consider yourself a party. We people can oppose. But what Al just said is, well, no, if you do, I'm not sure that we should elect you. That's how I took in your comments, Mr. Hamilton. So if you could just be prepared to address that on the 18th, it'll save us some time then. Thank you.
I'll save you some time right now.
Great.
If you disagree with me, the proper thing to do is next spring, find somebody who agrees with you, take out papers and run, well, actually it's 2 years, but you should run for the available seats here. I've said this on multiple occasions.
Yeah, no. Okay, go ahead.
Take out
Sorry.
the papers and run if you're unhappy.
Okay, we're not supposed to reply to this, but that's okay. So enough.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?